Alright, we are back here at Odyssey of the Dragonlords. We don't have the full party today because a couple of people are missing. They're doing IRL stuff that will probably keep them busy for a while. However, we still have most of the party here, so we decided to continue for the time being. Uh, so, in the last session, the party comprised, once again, of course, of Juno, Drakgar, Exandri, Derek, Metius, and Porunga. Managed to, uh, after the little debacle with the Oracle and the situation at Temple, they decided to head off into the city of Estoria to meet up with Pythor, god of battle, and perhaps for a couple of other reasons. Upon arriving, well, they realized that the people of Astoria may be a little bit too opinionated on some matters of some people's precedents. After that, the party, after having a bit of a discussion in the Dragon Tooth, a inn slash tavern in the city of Astoria, they well, sort of agreed on a course of action. Sort of discussing what has transpired so far, they seem to come to a general conclusion as to how they're going to approach the situation at hand. Uh, After which, the party was escorted to the grand palace of King Pythor of Astoria, who, well, among other things, welcomed the heroes into his city, recognizing some of them as his own children, so to speak, and came to them with a very dreadful situation, as it appears that the Order of Sidon has managed to find themselves as guests within the walls of Astoria. And not only that, but they request a sacrifice for the Lord of Storms. Uh, the price? Well, the life of Pythor's latest child, Princess Enora. The party, of course, didn't like this idea and is currently thinking of alternatives. Amongst the options that were discussed out loud, we have uh, looking for 50 oxen to sacrifice, which will be a blow to Astorian economy, but may just be enough to satiate the Lord of Storms. The second is to challenge the leader of the Minotaurs to honorable battle, and perhaps by defeating him, he will convince his troops to retreat. And, well, the third, but the one that nobody wants to speak of, is just allow the timer to run out and let Princess Honora be sacrificed. However, the party is thinking of alternatives, and that's sort of where we left off. That's a long ass recap. So, uh, let's see. I believe, as we were, let me just move you guys back into the map of Astoria. Landing page, Astoria. Here we go. So, you guys were separated in multiple groups. Right now, a couple of the players who are in those groups are missing. But, well, at Drakgar, you who were with Juno, I believe you were just sort of heading back after uh, your situation at Vulcan's Hall, which leads to Metius is currently in the library with Kyra, and Exandri, who was on her way to speak to Pythor. Sadly, we can't cover the events at the Dragon Shrine at the moment because Derek is missing, or at least Pumo is missing. So we're gonna have to do that some other time. In the meantime, uh, well, uh, which one do you guys want to cut to first, Metius or Exandri?
Either or is fine with me.
Yeah,
He
it
can
doesn't
go
matter.
first because I'm eating a snack because I just woke up.
Okay. Good morning.
Okay. Uh,
So I was in the library, right, with Kyra, and I rolled a 24 investigation to find
yes.
information.
Yes, correct. So, as you are looking for anything in the matter of the sacrifice alongside Kyra, you managed to find a couple of stacks of books that seem to, well, speak of general sacrifices or tribute making to the, to deities. You From that pile of stack of books, you separate them by those books who may be useful to you and those who may not. Uh, kind of dividing them off, but sort of like by category. You come across a couple of uh, books, around the area. This takes you a couple of, like a good hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of work. It is strenuous time to go through every possible segment of the library to be able to find the thing that you believe you're looking for. But eventually, you manage to find what appears to be a book regarding sacrifices to the Titans. It's more specifically a book on the history of Titans with the major cities of Thylea. It covers a great amount of time. But you're looking for, specifically the segments that are, related to the city's sacrifices to the Titans. Amongst the subjects that you find, you will find stuff that may have to deal with the quality of the sacrifice, the sort of rough monetary value of what is performed as tribute for them. You will find stipulations on, how to make, tribute to the Titans. For the first hour or so of your research, there is this general sensation that you're not getting too close to whatever it is you're looking for. You look over Kyra, and she appears to be, well, in a similar situation to you. You're at the very least in the right track, uh, but you're not quite finding the thing that Kyra believes you could be finding. Uh, Kyra looks over at you and notices you're also kind of reading your fair share of books here, try and find the, what you're trying to find. And she notices that you're somewhere in the right set of books. She leans over and says, "Find anything interesting over there?"
Well, I found some general knowledge about the history of the sacrifices and to the Titans, dealing with cities and things like that. There's a couple of rough values in here and some how-tos, but I don't know if this is necessarily what we're looking for.
No, it has to be a little bit more contemporary, I think. Something that may have, well, in relative terms, happened recently. Recent for us, of course. Maybe for mortals, this time has passed a little bit different. Uh, See if you can find anything on. And she kind of leans over your shoulder, looking at the book that you're looking at. She says, hmm, "I believe we're on the right track, but try and see if you can find anything of I don't know, agreements, deals, uh, more specific instructions. Uh, General stipulations are a start, I suppose, but we need to go a little bit deeper if we want to truly find a way out of this deal."
Certainly, I'll do my best to find it.
Make me another investigation check.
Investigation. No.
Oh.
You, you start losing track of time as you're, investigating all of this. It's kind of like those type of moments where like you're reading stuff, but none of it really sticks. Uh,
Yeah, definitely.
So you're just kind of like going through the motions of like reading, and there's words in those books. There certainly are. They're just probably not the words you're looking for, or the ones that land enough interest in you to justify your attention span. Um, Other than that, you well, uh, we'll spend a couple more, bit more time in the library. We'll cut back to you in a moment. Uh, it was a satisfying carries worth lost concentration, something like that. All right. Exandri. Uh, you decided to hang back in the palace, more specifically to talk privately to Pythor once the rest of your crew departed for their own business. You will. I can't remember. Did you ask to meet somewhere else, or?
No, she just wanted to meet with him in private, away from, a bigger audience.
Okay.
Try to word that be.
Well, Pythor will kind of, you know, pull you to a different segment of the palace. Uh, you would be in what could be, I guess, considered the gardens. Not they're not particularly large, but they are decently enough isolated from the rest of the palace that whatever conversation you wish to have here will most likely not be overheard by anybody really. You're currently in this segment of the gardens. It seems like it hasn't been taken care of for some time, and Pythor just kind of sits down on one of the this almost bench, around the area, and he says, "Hmm, this place hasn't been the same since Anora's mother passed away. She enjoyed this place, and well, nobody comes here too often. So, little Alexandri, you wanted to speak?
Um, uh, yeah, I did. It's kind of about what Versi told me in my prophet that specifically pertained to just myself.
Your prophecy, you mean?
Yes. And then she would tell her what her prophet was, and then she would ask, "Do you know of who might have upset the Titans in my ancestry? Obviously, I don't know much about my mom or that side of my family, seeing as I grew up here."
Well, I had a limited contact with those who, uh, entrusted you to myself. They were, of course, precious citizens of my kingdom, but their lives before, well, coming into my graces, so to speak, were, for the most part, unknown to myself. However, I do remember something to this effect. It was it was, from what I've heard, an ancient feud that sparked between, well, various members of your family. Your, well, uh, shall we say your ancestry, of course. As far as somebody being upset or upsetting the Titans, the only one that I can think of, and I pray to, well, whoever it is that may still be out there, that it wasn't the person who I think it was. There was this sorceress, you know, a old woman who, as far as I understood,
was your grandmother, Exandri.
She's like perched down on the ground, kind of like in like a kindergarten reading session where he's like on the bench telling her this information, and she's just kind of like sitting listening to this, and she'll peek up and be like, my grandmother, what did she do, or what did you hear that she did?
Well, I'm not too familiar with the details. It's as if your side of the family never really wanted to talk about it. Most I know is that, well, like many other citizens around Tylea, she wasn't particularly fond of the Titans. But, well, can you really blame her? Of course not. Her name was Elena, I think. As far as I was told, she was a very wise, very strong sorceress. Smart, to boot. I never really met her, but I was told about her. I was told that she departed on a great journey of her own. Of course, her grandkids tried to stop her, or, well, her kids rather, tried to stop her. But, well, that didn't much do anything. I suppose, in a sense, from that side of the family, you inherited well, their stubbornness. Of course, I do not mean to offend you, little Exandri.
She will giggle and smile, and she'll be like, "Oh, no worries. You know I've always been a curious one, Dad."
He kind of chuckles a little bit as well and says, "That I know all too well." He kind of seems to look around the garden, sees this fountain on the side. You know, the imagery of the fountain seems to be that of a, almost like a water nymph, perhaps. She then looks back at you and says, "So, what was it like to have your prophecy told by the oracle? And most of all, what was it like to find out that one of those who stood there next to you was, well, in a sense, your sibling?"
Um, I mean, if we're being honest about it, I really haven't had time to digest that bit yet. I mean, being here is kind of like the first time we've had downtime since the prophecy, but like, even though we're here, we're still actively trying to do something. So I just haven't had time to sit down and really process it. I do think it could be a little cool, traveling around and being close to someone who I'm related to. Um, but I'm also a little worried because traveling around with family can sometimes get sticky, and when in tough situations, one's intuition can get clouded on what the better thing would be to do. So, in a way, I guess it's for me a good thing and a bad thing, and hopefully he and I can fulfill our prophecy and make you proud. Cat just passed out her water bowl.
Pythor kind of smiles and says, "I have no doubt in my mind that you and your brother will make me the proudest father that has ever existed here in Tylea. In fact, the sheer fact alone that you two stand together side by side to be united in battle and in your ordeal. It's already enough for me to be happy about it.
Well, I do know we both plan on giving you way more.
There was some noise in the background.
Oh, sorry, what was that?
There was some noise in the background. I couldn't understand what you said.
Oh, Xander would say, well, I do know we both plan on giving you way more sacrifices as we travel around, and hopefully you got the boar.
Oh, like I said, I definitely felt that. But you don't need to do all of that. Remember, I am not the only god that still exists. And for as much of disagreements that I may have with Valus, uh, even she can get things right from time to time. And of course, my father and Kyra as well.
Very true. I guess just in my head, when it comes to sacrificing someone that we slay in battle, to me it just always feels more right to give it to you, whereas when doing other feats, like ones of knowledge or wisdom or
You know me. I will definitely not turn away any, possible praise that I may receive. So feel free to continue doing it. I'm just saying, keep in mind, I'm not the only one that could benefit from that. Just as long as you do not, you know, Tylea forbid, uh, decide to start making offerings to the Titans.
oh yes, about that. Before that, do you know who I'd be able to contact about my grandmother with? Who might know more?
I'm afraid I cannot answer that.
No worries, I thought I would ask. Um, other than that, how is the gathering of the oxen
It's going
for
to take a
the
while.
sacrifice?
It's going to take a while. But remember, I did say that you and your friends should run this by the Order of Sidon. As much as I dislike the idea of having you talk to them, there's a higher chance they'll listen to you more than they'll listen to me. After all, you have already thwarted their plans once. Certainly, you've gathered their eyes, whether you want it or not.
I agree. I mean, even if we go through with this plan, you do know that you are the one that we usually, or you're the one that we pray to. That this is just a one-time circumstance, so we could save sis, right?
Right, of course. And once again, do not worry about Nora at the moment. She is currently in a safe location.
Okay. May I see Honora before I travel to the temple of this, uh, for Sidon?
He kind of raises an eyebrow, and he says, "Uh, sure, of course." He gets up and kind of begins to kind of walk back into the palace proper. Gestures at one of the guards to kind of come closer and whisper something to them. The guard nods and just kind of walking with him, with Pythor and the guard, kind of seems to guide you, through the segments of the palace. Now, mind you, you've lived in this place for a bit, and you doesn't you know that he's not actually leading you to the, I guess, rooms, dormitories area. Uh, they appear to be walking somewhere else. A place that you probably haven't seen before in the castle, or at least you haven't willingly, wanted to come down here.
Ooh, we traveled to the West Wing. I thought this was off limits.
Basically, he kind of guides you to one of the different, one of the further away wings of the castle, of the palace, and kind of says to you, right, well, it is, this is, well, I'm not particularly proud of this, but trust me, this was the only place we could keep Anora from, well, you know her. She is the one that always jumps to action. Well, as much as it shames me to admit it, I had to put her here for her own safety. Uh, you see as kind of opens up a rather reinforced looking door that appeared to have been blocked by a slight, by this simple lock that the guard that was traveling with you unlocks. Uh, the guard then kind of bows and retreats back a bit until he's seemingly out of sight for the time being. And you see as Pythor opens the door into what you could swear at some point, through the general look of the walls, of the floor, of the ceiling, looked like it used to be some form of a brig, perhaps. However, has been remodeled, refurnished, and reaccommodated to look more akin to a, well, room or dormitory that you would see in like a royalty, chambers. Not too far into the actual room, you see, well, a figure that you kind of recognize. Uh, Currently in the middle of what appears to be reading a very nondescript looking book. She turns around when she hears the door open, and you see, well, her.
Um, when I see my sister, I'm going to like almost not like complete full run, but like in between a run and a walk over to her and like give her a really big hug. And I'm gonna be like, Laura, I missed you.
She's
And then,
taken by surprise. She didn't expect. It's almost as if she didn't expect to see your face so soon. And like she kind of like adjusts herself to kind of like meet the hug. She's kind of like looking a bit maybe confused. Uh, she says, "Oh, Xandri, sister, you've returned. Don't tell me father managed to, well, hook you into his own maddening ravings of a madman." And then she kind of looks over at Pythor, and Pythor kind of sighs, kind of pinches the bridge of his nose, and he says, "Once again, my sweet daughter, I put you here to protect you." As she kind of, as Anora kind of breaks the hug, kind of places like her hands on your shoulders, uh, and then she turns to look at you and says, "Sister, I'm sorry that you have to find me in such a situation. See, father here has the idea that, well, if I was to be left up to my own devices, I will throw myself into the Rock of Estor, which is not exactly what I said, father, in case you've forgotten." Pythor says, "Look, the point is that while you're here, you're safe. And I won't let those damnable Order of Sidon take you away from me. I can't stand the thought of losing both your mother and yourself." And you're kind of just standing here in the middle of this, kind of listening to all of this, Xandri.
typical family spat. It's beautiful. I'm going to look at Alora and I'm gonna smile and I'll be like, I wouldn't worry too much about it, sister. We have, or I have found myself quite a few companions who seem quite capable in handling themselves in sticky situations when it comes to Sidon. A couple of us are looking into some alternative means, and I think all is going to be well. And in 3 days, maybe Dad won't be keeping you in this room anymore. And then I'm gonna side glance Dad with like a little kind of like playful glare, as in like he better let her out after this is taken care of.
He looks heartbroken. And Nora looks at you and says, I understand that, sis. However, you must know. And believe me, I do not wish for your failure. In fact, I hope that you and your companions succeed whatever task it is that you're embarking on. But make no mistake, I owe my life to the people of Astoria. To not just you and Father, but to all the citizens that have sought to continue to support the reign of our Father. Should
Um,
should whatever it is you're trying to do fail, I hope you understand. I have no qualms in laying down my life if it helps the people of Astoria.
Xandu will nod her head, and she will still continue to smile, and she will tell her sister, Sister, have more faith. I do not think it'll come to that, but I know your heart's in the right spot. And if you would have me, I would very much like to spend the next couple of days bunkering down in your room with you at night when I go to sleep.
Well,
After all this is over, I'll be gone for a while.
well, less of a room, more of a accommodations. Don't know if you noticed, but well, it was clearly not meant to for someone like myself, or you for that matter. Though I do appreciate that Father was kind enough to at least help move some of my furniture down here. You know, he actually took that task upon himself rather than let the servants do it.
Zerduri will laugh and look at Dad and be like, wait, you did something?
Kind of looks over and says, Look, you two are just going to stand here and make fun of me. I can very well just leave you leave you two to it.
Uh, Zandri will finish giggling and then she'll be like, could I please have a cot put in here so I could just spend some more time with Sis before I have to depart from the city again?
Well, where will you be going?
Well, we're gonna be here till after we settle everything that's going on here, but then I have to leave again, Dad. I have to, you know, follow my comrades as we unriddle our prophecies and try and do you and Verses proud.
Hmm. Right, of course. And I assume your brother will be going with you too.
He definitely will be, but I can't promise every time that we're back. You best believe this is where we're going to be staying.
And Nora kind of turns over Pythor and says, Brother? And Pythor says, It's a long story. I'll explain to you later, Nora.
I'm gonna turn back to Sis and be like, oh yeah, we have a brother. I'll bring him by to meet you later.
Right. Well, I'm going to be going for the time being. Don't attempt to sneak Nora out of this room. I have guards posted out here to make sure that she doesn't try anything funny.
Don't worry, Dad. Even though I'd really like for Nora to be able to leave, I understand the situation, which is why I'm going to work extra hard to make sure that everything goes smoothly. And she's going to turn around and give her sister another really big hug and a kiss on the cheek. And she's going to be like, I have to go meet up with some of my companions so we can go over some plans. Uh, I'll fill you in on the details later if you want to know them, and you can meet them.
Oh, that would be lovely. Hopefully, while I'm not here.
Maybe we'll be able to convince Dad to let us use the dining room for a big dinner.
Right. It gets boring to be staring at the same a couple of walls every day. Well, thankfully it's only 3 days.
Alright. She's going to bound over to her dad and she's going to be like, Dad, can you please give us a big dinner so Nora can come meet everybody? You could just have the guards down there.
I'm sorry. I cannot allow her to walk outside of this room. Not even for you. Because if I do that, then she will definitely gather the gases of the Order of Sidon who are staying around the palace as guests.
Fine. Please have a giant banquet delivered to her room and we'll eat here later. And she's just going to bound down the halls to go find her friends.
Alright. Pythor eventually walks out of the room after, saying his goodbyes to Nora once again, and kind of orders the guards to once again close up the door, make sure that everything's secure. As you depart from here, we'll say that whatever happened at the Dragon Shrine happened. We'll do a little bit of a flashback once Pumo comes back in next session. But for the time being, I'll say at this point, pretty much everybody would be gathered back at the palace as you agreed. There's this sort of main lobby in like Great Hall at the at the entrance. Well, but did you want to do something outside of the palace, Porunga, while you were out there?
I think Porunga was going to the same place Pumo
Oh,
was.
that's right. Then how do we do
Because
this?
I think his prophet's in the same place.
I just wanted to ask, like, one of the priests or whatever that's there, if they knew anything about any rumors about, like, the Dragonlords treasure.
Okay. In that case, we can do that. Porunga, you and Derek go to the far east side of the city of Astoria, to a segment that is, well, how do I describe it? Very much from the outside, appears to be somewhat unassuming. There is this general feeling, however, you get as you approach of the, uh, of some great significance. You see, the closer you get to this building, that appears to have like this large, sort of like copper dome of sorts at the top of it. There is this, from the looks of it, what appears to be a religious, building with this imagery carved into it of the draconic figures. Just above the main door, there appears to be kind of like this marble engraving of a great dragon. You see, even from the outside of the building, there's this strong smell of incense and you can hear like prayers and mutterings of many priests that sort of carry out their daily rituals. Do I have a map for this one? I think I do. There we go. It's kind of like a general view of how the place looks like. You will see that amongst the priests in the temple, that are so many that I'm not gonna bother putting down tokens for them. You will see that amongst the priests of the temple, There's one that appears to be at the far back end of the of the shrine, alongside a couple of other acolytes that seem to be gathered around in a circle at the far back of the building. You and Derek would be walking in through the front door, kind of looking around, looking at the place, sort of like getting the big whiff of the smell of incense inside the building, which gets progressively more tolerable the longer you stay around here. So what do you do, Porunga?
I would walk up and I guess do like a slight bow and greet him in Draconic.
Greet who?
Aesop, the guy that looks like.
So you walk
Okay.
all the way to the back of the temple and approach this group of clerics here.
Yeah, and then I kind of look around and he looked like he was the important guy in the room.
I mean, it certainly seems that his robes are a little bit more detailed than everybody. He seems like a decently young-looking elven man. Very pretty features. Uh, you can't quite tell just how old he may actually be, considering that well, one, he's elven in years. He's elven in race, meaning that he lives for a long time. So even though he doesn't look that old compared to some of the other priests you see in the temple, uh, he seems to be the one of the higher rank here.
Yeah.
So you approach and greet him in Draconic. He kind of, like all of the other priests that are around him, will kind of like look around, like as they seem to have been in the middle of a conversation. Uh, and they seem a little bit thrown off by your sudden approach and presence. Uh, and then, however, the head priest will kind of gesture to the other ones and just kind of wave them along, and they seem to be moving, over to the other segments of the temple. You would be like, I guess, right here in front of him, talking to him. Uh, you see as the head priest, after kind of waving away the other ones, he says, "Apologies for that. We do not expect that someone would so easily know the language of dragons. Though I suppose I should be honored to be in the presence of a Dragonborn, no less."
Oh, it's okay. I had just come seeking some knowledge.
Well, usually one would go to libraries for this. I jest, of course. Here in the Dragonshrine, we accommodate for all of those who are believers in both the ancient Dragonlords as well as the five gods. I do apologize, however. Our temple has seen better days. He kind of side eyes this reliquary at the far back of the chapel. Seems to have been this glass, sort of like a box, has been shattered, and whatever content was inside seems to have been to be no longer there.
Um, that's the Dragon's Lords was actually what I came here to talk about.
Well, here primarily this temple was erected to treasure the legendary dragon Balmithria, the dragon companion to Xander, the first Dragon Lord. So, if what you seek is knowledge on the ancient Dragon Lords of old, then I can perhaps assist you in that.
Particularly if he his lost treasure.
kind of tilts his head to the side and says, I'm afraid I don't quite understand. Wait a moment. Oh, right, of course. You would happen to be part of that group of people that arrived recently at the city. I've heard of the prophecy, you see. And, well, I should have been looking forward to meeting with one of those who were chosen by the Oracle. He kind of like bows a little bit to you.
Yes, that's I'm part of that group.
You don't sound quite excited to be part of that group. Is there anything wrong?
No, there's nothing wrong.
I see. Well, I'm afraid by lost treasure, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. Is this part of the prophecy that the Oracle has imparted upon you?
Yes.
I see. I'm afraid I am not an Oracle myself. I cannot pretend to understand the, well, the meaning of the visions that the Oracle may perceive. I'm sorry. I'm not sure if I can help you here. Or at least, not at the moment. As I've said, well, recent happenings have made it so that the temple is in less than optimal condition to provide services.
I understand. If you hear about anything, or if you hear anything in the future, if you would let me know.
Right. Yes, of course. I I will make sure of that. Oh, but there is one thing that I believe you should know. He looks back at the reliquary, the one where I say it's kind of like the glass box that was kind of destroyed, whatever object was taken. He then looks back at you and said, like I said, I've been informed of the prophecy by agents of the Oracle. And, well, if I'm not mistaken, you and your companions are looking for a specific item known as the Horn of Valmitria. Well, the Dragon Horn, sometimes referred to.
Oh, yes.
What do you say?
I said yes.
Well, then I suppose it's pertinent for you and yours to know that I'm afraid that the horn does not lie within the shrine. It was stolen, you see. We're still not quite sure by who. Happened around 2 nights ago.
So there was no clues.
Well, we've been trying to look into it, but of course, we can only do so much without outright closing the doors of the temple to any who may seek our services. And we very well can't do that. So, part of our focus has been in, well, multiple matters. Of course, we do have our theories as to what may have happened. But considering recent happenings of the city, as I'm sure you've been aware of, we haven't had the time to properly look into this.
I understand. If there's anything I can do, I would be glad to help out.
Well, I suppose if you and your companions are to accomplish the tasks laid out to all of you by the Oracle, well, you may very well just need to look into the matters regarding the horn. I'm afraid, however, that outside of the walls of this city, I am not quite adept at well, many things. Regardless, I did not mean to bring down the mood like this. You certainly have your tasks, as I certainly have mine. If there's anything else you require, you may step by the temple once again.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
He does a bow and seems to kind of call upon one of the other priests once again. They very quickly kind of begin moving to the different side of the temple. He says, "Now, if you would excuse me, I wish you good day." He begins to go over and talk to the other priest. So, what do you do, Porunga?
Um, I guess I'll just make my way out. Oh, well, I'll make my way out to the front and just wait on Pumo, and then we'll meet up with the rest of the gang, and I'll let them know about this lost horn or the stolen horn.
Okay. So eventually, well, going back to what we were saying, eventually all of you guys would be gathered back up again in the king's palace, sort of in the main sort of like lobby, hall area of sorts. Uh, Kind of, I'll say for the purposes of convenience that you guys will be arriving around the same time. However, uh, Metius is still in the library. uh,
That is correct.
could you make me one final investigation check?
Yes. Let's see if we can. Oh, not bad.
Uh, you spend a couple more hours digging through books, and eventually, you will come across an interesting couple of segments. Not within the same original book that you were looking into, but you decided to follow Kyra's advice to look into more specific matters. You find a strange sort of bit of text that seems to regard the agreement, shall we say, of Sidon, raining, pouring rain down on, various places around the world, to make crops grow, to assist in the general order of nature. And you find one segment that appears to talk about, well, the city of Astoria itself. Uh, you will see that the wording, there's something catches your eye. The stipulation on the tribute that is to be, that is to be made for Sidon. The wording goes as follows: that which will be offered to the Lord of Storm is to be tied to the rock of Estor, to be petrified and eaten by the servants of the deep, the basilisks.
Yes.
Only then will Sidon be at peace, and rain shall once again flow on the fields of those who served him.
Okay. I think that after reading that, I would try to draw Kyra's attention to it and show her what I found, and I would say to her, do you recall any of this? Is this something that actually happened at some point that you have memory of?
Yes, of course. Um, this is, well, a bit of a more recent stipulation that was placed some time ago. It is, well, a barbaric practice. One that obviously doesn't need to be as gruesome as this is making it out to be. But, well, Sidon does like theatrics.
Well, I suppose that if that's all the information we're going to gather, we might as well make our way back to the group and show them our findings and see if they found anything on their own.
Well, I suppose that's enough. That's good enough progress for the day. Ah, man, I'm tired. Are you tired? I think I'm going to see what these servants can get us for beverages.
That sounds like an excellent idea. And Metius will follow her lead.
So you guys leave from the library. You basically went there like damn near like the whole day. I am gonna be posting the thing on the chat. This is basically what you would have found.
Thank you.
So, you guys will then sort of like all kind of come back around, you know, back onto the main sort of like hall of the palace. I mean, roughly around the same time. Uh, Rock of Estor. How did you spell it? Okay. All right. So you guys are gathered once again here at the main hall, roughly around a little bit later in the afternoon, getting to the evening. What do you guys do?
Well, if we're all gathered there, would I have been able to take that book or parchment or whatever it was with me?
It was less of a book, more of a I guess collection, I guess, of general like cultural practices.
Okay,
Were written down on various papers, parchments accommodated in an easy format, so to speak. Uh,
what would I? So I can't really bring them outside of the library.
you can. It's just that a lot of the servants are gonna be looking at you like, uh, esteemed guests. Are you taking that somewhere? I'm not sure if Lord Pythor. Uh, well, actually, never mind. She kind of one of the servants kind of looks away the moment they realize Kyra is walking with you. Uh,
I'll just look over to Kyra and say, "Have I committed some form of a faux pas? Should I have left these? I just figured it would be best for the group to see them for themselves and see if they could understand them a bit differently than I."
oh no. You see, if you weren't going to do it, I would. She says as she
Oh,
sees you, and she says, "Also, don't worry. I'm sure my brother will be kind enough to allow us to do this."
oh, excellent. Okay, then let's continue on.
Eventually, you guys, well, like I said, you guys are here gathered now. So what do you guys do?
Well, after greeting everybody again, Matthias would say, "How goes everybody's little errands? I've found some information. We don't have to get to it immediately, but I do believe that there is an order here of precedent we should be looking at."
You're like, I got a new axe, and I'll kind of show it off to everybody.
Oh, that's large.
I spoke with my father a little bit about my prophet, got a little information, and then I met with my sister Honora, who actually would really like to meet all of you. Um,
That's a wonderful idea, actually, because we should be getting her input as well, seeing as how she seems to be the one to be sacrificed, correct?
That's just a little bit of a tricky situation. So, I've actually told my sister I want to sleep with her the next couple of nights, like, hang out, chill. But in all honesty, I'm afraid that if the day comes down to it and our sacrifice doesn't work, I feel like she will do whatever it takes to escape and, so to speak, sacrifice herself.
Hmm.
So,
While that's not ideal, we cannot be discounting the possibility that that's the course of action we must take. No offense, of course. I understand that. Well, I suppose to both of you, she's family, but we do have the lives of all of these people to consider as well.
that is true, but I don't want to
We
get
tried.
into my head that that's actually going to be the outcome.
Certainly, I understand. Um,
Should we try speaking
Especially
with?
since we haven't got to the Order of Sidon yet here in town and
that's definitely
spoke
on
to
the
them
list.
about how to throw a proper banquet for him in.
Is there a table in front of us or something where I could put these documents down just to show them what I found?
You're just standing in the hallway holding them.
Yeah, there's
Just casually.
There's like desks around and like nightstands and the like that you can kind of put down the documents on.
Yeah, I'll motion them over to whichever one's closest and place them down and just point out the little excerpt that we found. That is whatever it is that any useful information that I had found, especially that little piece. So we do know that this is how the sacrifice is meant to happen, which
That is what is written there.
yeah. So could we really put 50 or whatever oxen or cattle on that rock and have them consumed
Well, you don't know how big the rock is for one. Because you haven't seen the rock itself.
Mhm.
You don't know how big it is.
Well, hopefully it would be large enough to support whatever. But anyway, that's what I have found. Kyra's with us, right?
We'll say that she's kind of like somewhere to the side, seemingly writing once again in those kind of like golden parchments that she carries with her.
Right.
She notices you're looking over at her, looks up, kind of waves, and then says, "So, should I be chronicling the intelligent and cunning plan that you're all are about to come up with?"
I would say no, just in case they got to the wrong hands. And then maybe you can write about it in 3 days' time if you remember.
But if I don't write it while it's fresh in my mind, I'll just get to writing poetry, and you don't want me writing poetry.
Well, I guess you guys can decide. My vote's no.
I suppose that the will of the gods are their own. I as long as you tell nobody of our plans. But we do have one other order of business that we could probably take care of right now, and that was to swear to each other an oath of fellowship, however that is meant to happen. That was something that we had wanted to do, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, pardon? Porunga, what did you say?
I said yeah.
Oh, well, Kyra, do you know how we can go about doing this ritual?
She looks up and says, "Wait, you mean about the whole sacrificing the oxen thing?"
No. An oath of fellowship between all of us fellows here.
Sorry, I was caught up in writing some things. Of course, right. The oath of fellowship. How could I have forgotten? Well, if you're all keen on doing it, it's just as simple as, well, first of all, go into this with shall we say, an open heart. Do not do this with any ulterior motives. Do not do this with, well, any form of malice in your heart. She kind of clears her throat and says, "Now, all of you, if you are, if you would be so kind, place a hand on your heart and repeat this." And she pulls out a piece of parchment and shows it to you, with the following words.
Nice. Put my 100.
Make sure you all do this at the same time and do it as if you mean it.
Okay.
Um,
Uh.
what?
Oh, I forgot. Really important. Wine. I'll be right back in a moment. And she goes off into a side of the palace. You overhear in the distance, like her, like quickly shouting at some of the servants in the in the palace. You just overhear her say something like, "I need some wine, please." I know. I don't care if it's from. Doesn't have to be from Pyther's private reserve. I mean, Lord Pyther's private reserve. I just need a little bit of wine. All right, don't worry. I'll he knows me. I'm his sister, by the gods.
He knows me.
Can somebody refresh my memory as to what our oath all entails? Mainly because Cassie's power went out during this segment.
Well, I was hoping that Cairo would be able to go into a little bit more depth before we swore it, but we're sort of under the impression that it will afford us some kind of extra layer of protection as long as we uphold the oath. But I don't know what that protection is or what other boons we're gonna get.
What exactly is the oath?
At this point, Kyra comes back with a pitcher of wine and a couple of cups. She can has like a difficult time kind of like balancing all of this, but it's almost as if like they're about to fall over, also not, as if she is only pretending to be tumbling over with all of the objects she's currently carrying. And then eventually she tosses you guys your respective mugs, and says, "All right. Uh, any questions before we get this on the road?"
What exactly does the fellowship oath entail again, Auntie Kyra?
Well, you see, nowadays, anybody can just say that they are part of a greater group with a greater goal. And then at the turn of the hat, they'll walk away, be gone for whatever reason. An oath of fellowship is meant to signify an unbreakable bond. One that will see you guys all together to the bitter end, if it ever comes. I hope it doesn't. This will also make it so that your names, all of them, will carry the exact same weight as each other. When one of you wins fame, all of you will share it. Now, regarding the degree of protection, well, that part is a bit iffy in the details. it is not something that has a recorded merit to it. It is merely a belief, shall we say. But, well, I believe most people in Thalia can attest that the power of belief is a great one indeed.
So essentially, if one of us succeed, we all succeed. If one of us fail, we all fail.
Well, if you want to simplify it, yes.
And what happens if one of us, uh,
Eyes.
yeah, that right there.
Well,
Thanks. Yes.
that is, well, would be a great tragedy of untold proportions. But this doesn't particularly bind your lives together. It's more of a code of honor, shall we say.
So if one of us did accidentally die, would it affect the fellowship? It would just, so to speak, be one man down?
It would, well, once again, if you're asking this from the angle of the protection, shall we say, I would imagine that a death in the fellowship will certainly damage that particular aspect. However, remember, every story has a degree of tragedy if you look hard enough into it.
Okay. I just wanted to, make sure that if, something like that does happen, the others will still be able to go on.
Right.
Mainly because of the situation that we are currently in, with the threat of a Sitar army essentially stampeding the city if we fail
Mhm.
this sacrifice.
Right. And I understand that. It is a reasonable threat that you should definitely be worried about. But I'm certain, I believe, deep in my heart, that you will come out on top. That you will find a way to prevent great tragedy from striking the city. And, well, I will be here every step of the way to make sure that your great exploits are recorded.
Okay. And I mean, I guess if you guys are committed to this fellowship and seeing our prophet's prophecy through,
I'll say I'm in. What about you guys? And then Juno will also be in.
uh, Zardri will very slowly put her hand in for a glass of wine. I think that's what Kyra brought back.
Yeah. Metius puts his hand in and says, "This will be good for us, and it will be good for the people to understand that we do fight together."
Yeah,
I'll put my hand in as well.
Friendship power.
Uh, Derek is a little hesitant to put in his hand because he doesn't know if Percy would be down for this, because he knows that she's very protective of him and doesn't like to essentially share him. So he will be hesitant and probably look at Kyra and ask if Versi and her spoke about the fellowship before they left the temple.
Oh no, I definitely didn't. But I'm certain she will understand. This isn't. Don't think of this as, you know, uh, you having to, shall we say, be shared by everybody in your fellowship. Think of this more as a you know how some people, even though they live a married life, will still leave some time aside for their friends. You know, like,
He will be like, "No, I didn't know that. I've been with her for 500 years."
ah, that's right. Sorry. Well, that happens, and it'll be like that.
he will be like, he's gonna look up to the group and be like, if she starts giving you guys all nightmares, Kyra's fault. And he'll put his hand in for a glass of wine.
So, it seems that all of you guys are ready. Well, I want you guys to recite the the oath that I just posted.
Would it have to be at the same time?
I mean, do you guys want to do it at the same time?
We could go either way or one by one.
I think one by one for the audio.
Okay, well, in that case, let's go one by one, by order of player here. Drakgar.
I am Drakgar, and I swear upon my life and my honor that I will uphold the oath of fellowship with the warriors who stand at my side. And then I'll grab up my glass.
Okay, Porunga.
I am Porunga, and I swear upon my life and my honor that I will uphold the oath of fellowship with the warriors who stand at my side. And will also drink from my mug.
Exandri.
I am Exandri, and I swear upon my life and my honor that I will uphold the oath and fellowship with the warriors who stand by my side. And she will take a drink of her wine glass.
Metius.
I am Metius Manum Soul, and I swear upon my life and my honor that I will uphold the oath of fellowship with the warriors who stand at my side. And I will take a deep drink of my glass.
Derek will say, I am Derek Linius, and I swear upon my life and my honor that I will uphold the oath of fellowship with the warriors who stand at my side. And he will drink. And Juno is also not here, but will say that he will. Can he read? I mean, hey, Juno, Juno has Derek and Juno, well, for different reasons, have difficulty reading in common. But Juno will say, "I am Juno, and I swear upon my life and my honor that I will uphold the oath of fellowship with the warriors who stand by my side." And in that moment, when all of you take your well, thematically speaking, like in character, you guys did this at the same time. Audio reasons, we did it separately. So as all of you say the oath and drink from the cup, mind you, the wine is pretty good. I'm not sure if it's tastes good because the wine is good or because of the, you know, of the reason behind it. I will give all of you one inspiration as you feel,
Thanks, man.
Oh, sweet.
as the oath of fellowship is made. You feel this strange sensation within you, but not an unpleasant one. As the wine goes down and you feel it flow through your throat, you feel another thing accompanying that sensation. A strange, warm sensation of your within you that you're not sure exactly what that may be, but it feels pretty good. So, with the Oath of Fellowship done, Kyra will once again pull out one of her parchments and begin to write this down and say, I'm just gonna put this somewhere back to make it seem like you guys did this right away. She said she kind of rolls up a piece of parchment. She rolls up a piece of parchment and puts it back into her, her backpack. She then says, and with that, the oath is made. Do you guys feel anything?
Well, there was certainly a feeling. It felt pretty good.
All right, I'm going to embellish that when I write this down. Um, she kind of just to make a couple of edits, shall we say, on the on some of the parchments. And then
We
she
should also continue to monitor how we feel, because this is an excellent opportunity to properly document the total effects of this oath, seeing as how some of them seem to be unknown and are essentially myth or legend at this point.
That is true. I will take note of this. Anybody else feel any different?
Mm-mm.
Maybe it works different for some people.
I just feel inspired to do better so that my sister doesn't have to be sacrificed in 2.5 days.
That is as good of a motivation as I've ever heard.
Speaking of which, what time of day is it?
What time of day? It's nighttime, basically.
It's what, nighttime?
Yes.
Great.
Should we try to meet with the what's their names? The forgot their names. Guards of something.
The order.
Oh, those
The order of the
like
Sidon? That's
Yeah,
gonna
those
be
guys.
tomorrow. It's nighttime.
yeah, we do have to meet with, I believe his name was Gaius, who represents the Order of Sidon currently in the city.
Mm-hmm. We should do that first thing in the morning, or whenever we get a chance.
Certainly.
Yes.
So,
I say we take a meal, go introduce you guys to my sister, and
Right, we
get
still
an
do need to
early
get her
night sleep.
opinion.
okay. Kyra says, you guys be on your way. I'll be, sending word to the castle servants to let them know where you guys will be at. Don't ask how I know. She then kind of like looks around and says, I, on the other hand, have, a beauty sleep to get to. Reading books all day really does not do anything good for my eyes or my back. So, I'll make sure to see you guys tomorrow. And now, keep in mind that I don't mean to bring the mood down. After this, there'll be only 2 days left. Make them count.
Exactly. We definitely
Noted.
need to get a game plan and maybe split into 2 groups tomorrow.
And then she bows a little bit exaggerately, and then says, "Well, see you tomorrow." And she goes off into the castle's, halls. So, what do you guys do?
We go to.
I guess we would go see if we could see Honora so she could meet her brother.
And also to ask her her opinion of this whole thing, seeing as how she's sort of at the center of it.
Okay. So you guys go down into the the brig / dungeons. It is not, obviously for those of you who haven't been here before, it's kind of weird. Like you're kind of like wondering, like, wait, why is Exandria leading us to what appears to be the dungeons or the brig? Until you see a couple of the guards kind of look over at you guys, and they're kind of like, okay, yeah, I guess you're allowed to walk here, and they eventually you get to the door where Honor is being kept. One of the guards asks, "Oh, apologies. I was not informed that this many people would be gathered here tonight. Has Lord Sidon approved of this?"
I mean, my dad was literally here this morning when I told her I was gonna introduce my fellowship to Aurora.
I am so sorry. I accidentally said Sidon. Pythor. Lord Pythor has approved of this. So you say, yeah, we introduced my
Can I
fellowship.
insight check that guard? No, just joking.
That was me messing up because we've been saying Sidon a lot. So he usually keeps saying that name. You kind of like, say, yeah, we'll introduce my fellowship to Nora. He kind of side eyes the other guard and he just kind of shrug. And he just says, Very well. One moment. Kind of turns to the door, slides the key in, opens it, and just opens the door, puts the key back in his pocket, and says, "We shall still be out here until our shift changes." Uh, and you walk in and you see that Honora was already kind of like it's kind of like expecting you guys, as if she was kind of staying up a little bit to kind of wait for.
Just before we walk in, can I ask Exandri something?
Yes.
Metius will turn to Exandri and say, "Were these the guards here earlier today when you were around?"
Were these the guards that were here earlier today when I was around?
It seems like they are. You came in around like midday, somewhere getting to that time frame. Um, it seems like they were just about to like head out, I guess, as they mentioned, kind of like their shift, like the night shift, seems to be somebody else. But these guys seem to be the same people.
Um, yes, Mateus. They were the same guards from earlier, but
Metius is going to quickly turn to the guard and say, "Do you notice anything different about Exandri from this morning?"
They
I'm gonna squint at him in confusion.
kind of look a little bit like weird, and they say, no, I apologize if something has happened to you all over the course of this time. I'm afraid we cannot see it visibly on you."
No. That's quite all right. That's excellent. This is perfect. And he's going to pull out a little piece of paper and his an ink pen and quickly scribble down. "So far, the Fellowship Oath has had no perceivable difference." Okay, we can go inside now. Thank you.
Okay.
Dave.
He walks inside baffled.
Okay, so you guys walk inside, and Nora says, "Well, this is a wonderful visit. Now you get to meet all of my sister's friends." And she kind of leans over to you, Alexandria, and kind of whispers over to you, "Which one of them is supposed to be your brother?"
This is gonna shock you, but it's this one. And then she's going to, she's gonna gesture her hand out to Drakgar for him to step forward and introduce himself.
I'll say, "Hi, I'm Drakgar. Nice to meet you."
This is our sister, Princess Honora.
I'll say that again without laughing.
I'm sorry.
Just kidding. So Nora is gonna look at you and just gonna like, well, look up at you because you're like way taller than her, than she is. And she says, "Oh, I didn't actually expect to meet someone who would basically match Dad's height. Well, I suppose I can't see which side of the family you inherited. No offense, of course. It's good to meet another one who shares the blood of Pythors, such as ourselves."
Yeah, it's nice to meet you.
She looks at the rest of you guys and says, "Oh, and you all, I was told a little bit by Exandri, but well, I'm glad to finally get to see and meet all of you."
"Oh, it's wonderful to meet you as well." And Metius will bow courteously.
"You don't need to do all of that. I may be the Princess of Estoria, but you don't need to go out your way to show what people call due reverence. I am
Oh,
just a person, same as you guys all are. Though, of course, I'm not one who was chosen by the Oracle. Yes, I've overheard that. The guards are not particularly quiet when it comes to these subjects."
"Oh, as you wish. I will address you how you want."
Gentlemen, Honora will do for now.
Of course, Honora. If only we could meet under less dire circumstances.
It's quite alright. I know Father means well, but, well, he certainly tends to get a little bit carried away. Regardless, I suppose this is far better than just be constantly harassed by the Order of Sidon.
Were they coming up to you?
Oh, no, of course not. They will never do something as, well, stupid as that. Do not get me wrong. I bear no love for the Order of Sidon, as you would expect from someone who's a child of Pythor. But, well, it's as if every time I pass them by before Dad decided to lock me up here, it was as if every time I passed them by, I could feel this dreadful sensation, as if they knew, without saying anything, that their goals will come to fruition. Of course, like I told my sister here, I am very willing to lay my life down for the people of Astoria if it means that it gets to provide them, well, safety and a future. But she tells me that you guys were all coming up with something else.
Well, we were hoping to be able to um, circumvent this sacrifice of your own life. However, I do wish to know your full opinion on it. It seems that you're quite willing to die in the place of this of for the citizens, but is that something that you really want?
There's the question I expected. You see, I am one of many children of Pythor. I've lived with him all my life. When my mother passed away, it affected him greatly. He didn't want to lose me as well. So when the time of drought came and the demands of the Order of Sidon were heard, he did what he thinks every sensible father should do and put me here where I can't be harmed or I can't, well, do much of anything. Trust me. I, if it was possible, if we lived in an ideal world, I would prefer that no blood would be shed. Nor, not for the Titans, and neither for the Five Gods. It's not like I don't like the Five. I certainly do. My father's one of them, of course. But, well, I'm not exactly sure how to say this. I believe a change in the principles of the citizens of Tylea may be a step that could be taken in the right direction, besides the, well, hopefully without the intervention of the Titans. Now, do not get me wrong. So far as I am aware, the praising of Titans is a necessity for some people around the land. For a lot of people around the land. I do not like the idea of another life being put on the line in the Rock of Estor just for the sake of appeasing egotistical beings such as the Titans. But a part of me, however small, knows that if all else fails, my life may just be the one thing that is needed to bring a future for Astoria. I do not want to die.
We'll find a
But,
alternative before.
well, I don't want to die, but the people of Astoria, my father, everyone really, have all done me and my siblings a great service. I do not wish to see it destroyed because I am, well, selfish. I've made up my mind. It is not a choice that I thought of lightly, nor is one that Father approves of. But if I have to choose between my life and the lives of everyone here in Astoria, including all of you, then the decision is clear. I'm sorry. I certainly ruined the mood, didn't I?
Well, I was the one who asked, but this is unfortunately a matter that is creeping up on us quite quickly. So I figured to get it out of the way. Hopefully, the rest of the night you can spend with your sister and I suppose your newfound brother, getting to know each other a little bit more. But for now, we do need to figure out what our options are, and I think a little bit more research is to be done tomorrow until we can make a final decision. But having your input is certainly valuable.
Well, I appreciate that you saw it important to ask for my take on the matter. Well, that was a bit of a downer, wasn't it? I apologize. This probably does not make for the best of your first impressions. So, um, sorry, I find it difficult to think of things to say to change the subject.
My mic
Well-
got muted, I just realized. Whoops.
Maybe we can include my sister in just our normal strategy meeting of what we plan on doing tomorrow.
Certainly.
Yep, sounds like a plan.
I feel like there's so much ground to cover that we definitely need to go in different directions again, like today.
Oh, that will probably be the case as well.
I know I definitely will be going to see Gaius at the Order of Sidon Temple.
I'll probably go with as backup in case shit hits the fan.
I can't imagine that they would be violent inside the city, but if they do,
I don't think they'll be violent, but if we maybe fumble or fail a negotiation, we could be kicked out or something, maybe?
Yeah, true.
Or the goal is to get them to believe that we truly want this festival to go down. And
or if it would even work, because we do know that we do know from that little that information that we gleaned from the library that part of it needs to be the sacrifice on the rock.
on the rock of Astor, yes, I agree. The festival is, so to speak, just to try and add an additional flavor to his favor. We will definitely need somebody to check up on the oxen and see how well those are going as well.
Right.
Hold on, what?
And-
Sorry.
Yeah, you,
Sound like
you
mic
cut-
cutting out.
you cut out for a moment there. What were you saying?
Which person?
Cass.
Cass, you,
Or Zandri.
yeah.
Where to cut off?
Most of the chat. I didn't really.
Essentially, she said that she was gonna go to the Temple of Sidon to speak with Gaius to try and see if they could gain favor for throwing a festival for Sidon and Lutheria the night of the sacrifice, and that another group or another person would probably need to check up on how gathering the 50 oxen are going.
Yep.
Make sure that we're going to have enough of them, and to make sure like everything is essentially like going smoothly. They're going to be delivered on time, and then we could probably, I don't know, maybe another research dive. I don't know how much that would help since we just did that today. Maybe there are
I could certainly dive back into the library. It is
you
something that I quite enjoy doing.
you
However,
should. However, hear me out. What if we
mhm.
ask my dad if there are any citizens who have been a long time over of Sidon who are still alive in the city?
Oh, that's a great idea.
To
If there are
see,
any known, yeah, if there's any known figures other than just Gaius.
yeah, because then
Should
maybe we could also ask them for any knowledge.
we could also try to in the library see if there's any weaknesses for centaurs in case the other plans don't
That's
work and we need.
still another
Yeah,
good one. You could also go back to Con and see if he might know of any ways in battle to
go back to
persuade
who?
or defeat centaurs.
Go back to who? Sorry,
Vulcan, the smithy.
the smith's name is Vulcan,
Yeah.
like the god.
Yeah.
Yeah, like yeah.
Yep, that's him.
Wait, hold on. That's him. Him. That's the
Yeah.
I
god
mean,
Vulcan.
could be. He could be
Yep.
cool. Nobody
He's,
knows.
I kind
Wait,
of owe him some money too, but
hold on a
we'll fix
second.
that later.
The no, hold. You owe money to a god now?
um, let's not worry about that right now.
All right, we'll put this aside, I suppose. But how many gods are in this city? This is an incredible research opportunity.
A lot of them seems like every quarter.
We certainly need to go get some more information from Vulcan if we can on defeating centaurs if that's the route that this takes. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, uh, with that discussion, uh, I'll say at some point over the course of the night, you guys will be brought kind of like the meals that you requested with drinks and the like, so you guys can spend some time here in the in the room with Honora. As you guys are discussing this, and she kind of is handed a cup of tea. She sips it and says, "Oh yes, Vulcan, or I guess Grandad. Uh, he is well, not too particularly believed, I guess, by the average citizens. Everybody just keeps thinking he's a dwarf with delicious of grandeur. But well, father let me in on the secret. Uh, don't let everybody know, however. He enjoys the tranquility of his forge.
I'll certainly keep it under wraps then. But we do need to leverage as much information as we can from anybody we can.
If you do go see Granddad tomorrow, um, would you at least let him know that I say hi and I miss him? That he should come to dinner that night.
Good luck with that. I'm told he doesn't even show up for Auntie's birthday.
Oof.
Oof. Well, maybe if Metius takes Kyra with him, they both can persuade him for a family dinner.
I suppose we could make the attempt.
Um, but since you're really interested in meeting him, Metius, are you okay if you lead the party to him to inquire about the centaurs?
Tomorrow, yes, I'll do that. I will do that tomorrow.
Okay. And then I will go with Drakgar to the temple to speak with Goliath, and we'll send Juno and Derek to check on the oxen, and Porunga will go with Metius.
Okay.
And then maybe we can meet back up at the palace for a late lunch or an early lunch. I don't really know how long it would take. So around lunchtime. And then we could discuss with Father if he knows of any other citizens of the city who might have been around for such a long time to know anything about Sidon and what he
Right.
might like.
Yeah.
Vulcan
Okay.
might even know. He's older than Dad. You could even ask him.
I will make a note to ask him about that.
I definitely will not be asking Gaius. That seems like the opposite direction in which my conversation should be going with him. All right.
All right.
So I suppose we have our plan.
Do you have anything you would like to add, Honor? We are doing this for you. We're going to try our best to make sure that the oxen are the only things that would need to be sacrificed.
All right. As you guys continue to have your meals and this conversation, sort of at some point, it gets late into the night, so having agreed on this course of action, unless anybody's doing anything else, I'll say we'll just say you guys will be able to take a rest and eventually reach.
Matthias is going to quickly ask Honora if she notices anything different about Exandri.
Um, she will kind of look with a quizzical look and say, "What do you mean anything different?" I guess she does look a bit mature, but then again, well, I suppose she has been tempered by whatever adventures she's had with all of you.
But nothing stands out so, let's say, magically, or nothing really stands out sort of in the sense of like mysticism to you at all?
I'm not a spellcaster. I'm not quite capable of magic myself, so I'm sorry. I'm not sure what you mean here.
All right, excellent. That's wonderful information. Thank you. We just had I'm just tracking the effects of an oath that we all swore together, and so far, no perceivable effects.
Well, there are many oaths in the land that don't particularly are visible, shall we say, right away. But so long as you do not break it, you will not be plagued by any particularly nasty curse.
That is something we will certainly keep in mind.
So, eventually, you guys, break up for the night. You are, of course, granted accommodations in the palace. In Xandri's case, you were given like an additional segment of the room where Anora is being kept. To kind of just hang out there for the night and have some sisterly talks. Uh, as the rest of you guys are being seen off, Anora does kind of wave you guys goodbye and looks over at Drakgar and says, "Oh, and how should I address you, brother, or how?"
Uh, Drakgar is fine, or whatever you prefer. Don't bother me.
Very well. I do hope to have a talk, a better chance to have a talk with all of you once all of this is over. Hopefully.
We'll get it figured out.
I wish you all a good night. And then you guys are seen off by the guards. You're given accommodations, rest up for the night. So, once you guys, eventually the long rest comes to pass, no dreams with Lutheria this time around. You guys manage to have a peaceful night's rest, and eventually, dawn of the second day. We there's two on the third day on the full moon. The sacrifice is meant to take place. Until then, you guys have this day and most of the next one to be able to do what it is you want to do. So, what would you guys do with this time you have?
Well,
Well, it's time to just carry out our plan.
yep. That sounds.
Okay, so who? All right. So just for clarification, what were the orders of business you guys have?
Should we do the?
We can do them in whatever order you want, but me, Porunga, and Kyra are going to speak to Vulcan. You two are meant to go to speak to Gaius, and somebody needs to go check, like Porunga's saying, on the
Juno
accountant.
And Derek, we're gonna do that.
Oh, is it?
Wonderful.
Yeah, I just put Derek and Juno on the Oxa task
Okay.
since
So,
they're both not here.
yeah, we'll say Derek and Juno go off to check on that. Yes, bureaucracy, their favorite thing, I'm sure. The rest of you guys have other more important business to attend to.
If it's morning time, very specifically, Xandria would wake up really, really early, and she would go and take a holy bath, and then go and find. She'd probably ask her sister to go raid her closet and like choose some really expensive clothing articles, so she could go and present herself to the Tower of Sidon and look like an important figure.
So you wake up, grab a brush, and put a little and you eventually, make yourself look fine, nice. Obviously, Nora only has like really her stuff here in the room, so you kind of have to go to your own room that is somewhere else in the palace to be able to get all of your stuff. You actually, asking around the area, like, where are this order of Sidon people? You are told they're actually not too far away. They are in a building adjacent to the palace that is treated as sort of a guest house, so to speak, and also as a general like hangout area. Sadly, not many of the servants really have the gall or the audacity to stay here for extended periods of times, knowing that the Order of Sidon is here. Let's get some slightly tenser music playing here. So here we go. Skip.
Oh, because it's a new day. Today she is in sorrow mode, so she cannot fly.
Okay. All right. So, you guys begin heading off into the guest house, and even from outside, you feel like this kind of tense, atmosphere. Give me a second while I put you guys in the
Should we
restroom.
just do?
Uh,
Should we just do break then, or?
Give me a second. Sure. We can take a bit of a break here anyway. We're, I guess, a little bit past the halfway point anyway. So we'll take a quick 5-minute break and then we'll be back to see how you guys handle the Order of Siren. I'm gonna pause the recording for a moment. Alright, we are back and we are ready to continue. By the way, I would like to apologize if there has been some wind on my end. I have a fan on and it is, because it is pretty hot over here. Currently 32 Celsius. It is, yeah, it is, I am not a happy camper because of this. Anyway, let's see. And now my computer glitched out. That is great. So we are back, and who were the ones that wanted to talk to the other side?
Drakgar and Xandria.
The siblings of the group are going to speak with Gaius.
Okay.
Would Xandri know if it's customary or polite to bring a offering?
Uh, I mean, there's such a thing called guest friendship.
In in the land of Thylia, much like the real life, sort of like a grateful host thing that ancient Greek mythology had. Guest friendship essentially means that anybody who is considered a guest in a in your house, in establishment, whatever, you are to treat with some degree of respect. Lest you might be receiving of a certain curse. That is assuming that you are bound by the oath of service in a way. While not precisely customary to bring a gift or a present, I mean, it's really up to you if you wish to do that.
Before they would leave, she would definitely raid one of the more expensive bottles of wine from her dad to take with him.
Okay.
He won't be needing this.
So you kind of you sneak in, bring one of the bottles of wine. Actually, hold on.
Make me a stealth check. Let's see if you get past Pythor's ever seeing eye. Uh,
Oh, she's fully not trying to sneak it. She's just like, this will do.
Pythor senses his alcoholic senses tingling. And he kind of as you're kind of like turning around after grabbing the bottle of wine from the reserve, you see him standing in the doorway, uh he, like arms crossed, and he looks at you and says, well, I certainly don't expect you to pick up this from my habits.
Oh, it's not for me, Dad. I thought since we were going to the Temple of Gaius, we might as well take something expensive to give to him.
Kind of thinks for a moment, and
You wouldn't want us to fail, would you?
he kind of looks over at you and says, I do not like the idea of my reserves being used for the likes of them. That's why I've been only handing them, from the mid to low end. But if you believe that they will be able to hear you, or at least take you into account a little bit more with this, and I'll allow it.
If Siren honestly wasn't married to Letheria, I won't think I would need it, but you know how she is.
Well, I'm not sure if Leteri is involved in all of this, but chances are she is. Whatever the case, while they may not while they may not directly serve her, they do serve Siren. Do not think for a moment this makes them easy targets. They are
True.
as ruthless and cunning as they are zealous in their belief. So,
Um, Speaking of Letheria, if we all make it back here in peace tonight, do be sure to bring up the dream that we had on the way here. We think she's been dream invading us, so maybe you'll be able to help us out with that, maybe?
She is
Possibly.
the Lady of Dreams. That is her domain. Sadly, a domain that I do not have any control over.
Alright. Well, like always, I'll miss you, Dad. I'll see you in a little bit.
Sure. Take care. Take care.
She ducks under his arm with his treasured alcohol and starts heading for the door.
For kind of like, as you pass by, he seems to whisper under his breath, "And you take care as well," as if addressing the bottle. And he kind of, as he sees you walking off with Drakgar, he kind of looks over at Drakgar and says, "Oh, and do not try anything foolish. Act as I would in your place."
All right, I will. And then I start following her.
At this point, you guys will, like I said, kind of go to the adjacent building over, and you will arrive here at the guest area. You may place your tokens down if you wish.
Before we go in, I will look to Drakgar and I'll be. This is before we're even like within earshot of this temple, and I'm going to be kind of talking in a very hushed, secretive tone.
Well,
And
it's not a temple per se. It's just a sort of like
building.
general building that seems to be made for like guests and the like that the order is currently staying at.
We're going to be like, remember, they're the followers of Sion, and I believe the Order of Sidon has a different like, is it like a salute or a bow that's different from like the five gods?
I mean, well, you can make me a religion check and see if that's the case.
Religion. Where are you located?
Best you know is that you know the general idea you get of what a salute would be something like praise be the Lord of Storms or glory to the Lord of Storms. Something that seems to elevate Sidon's position, I suppose.
Okay, and then I would tell her, I'd be like, remember, we need to convince them that we actually worship Sidon and that we actually really want to hold a festival in his name. And in doing so, we want to obtain information, if possible, of things that would make the festival go according to plan.
Got it.
We need to make sure that he doesn't find out that we're trying to deceive them to get out of a more dire sacrifice, being Honora.
All right.
Also, here. And then she's going to put her hand on his shoulder and she's going to mumble something under her breath and she's going to cast aid on the both of them for the next 8 hours.
Nice. Ooh. Okay. Just in case things.
Just in case we get into some funky ass drinking game
Hell yeah.
that we need extra hit points for. Okay.
Well, I'll drink all these fools.
So you guys eventually do arrive at the building and walk in. You will see a great number of individuals, all for the moment not quite like fully armored up. However, a recurrent factor with all of them is that they all seem to be donning this blue cloaks with a red eye symbol on segments of it. As you guys walk into the front door, you hear one of the, you see a couple of them kind of turn around, and somebody has some noise in the background, and
Oh,
as they turn around, one of them kind of turns back to the others, and they kind of begin to mutter amongst themselves. You see at the far back of the room, almost as if willingly separating himself from the rest of them, you see another figure, one that you can tell looks different than the others. You're not quite sure what puts him apart. But it seems to be that it's the same art, but not the same soldiers. It seems to be that this man has like this more rugged face, a couple more scars around that are visible in the exposed skin that peeks through, through the gaps in his attire. He seems to be currently playing what appears to be a game of chess with himself. This is a guy. There we go.
It looks like wow, man, what's his name?
Some of the guards, some of the the soldiers that are around here, kind of turn to look at you guys, and they say, well, one of them says, "I believe you might be lost. We were told that this place is reserved for us."
um, no, I believe we are in the right spot. You are Gaius, so this is the Order of Sidon, correct?
Well, Gaius didn't speak. It was one of the soldiers.
Oh, what are soldiers? Oh, okay. I'll rephrase my sentence. Uh, this is the Order of Sidon, correct?
Can they kind of look at them? They kind of smirk a little bit, and one of the soldiers says, "Yes, we are. And from the looks of it, you two seem to be like the new arrivals here at the palace."
We we are, but our business lies elsewhere, which is why we are here. We were wondering if we could have an audience with the one they call Gaius.
They all kind of look at each other, and they turn over to the far back of the room, where you see the man kind of playing chess with himself. And they kind of like all look at each other, and one of them looks at you, says, "This better be a good reason. The commander does not like to be bothered for just anything."
Um, well, do I discuss this with you or do I discuss this with him?
They kind of like look at each other, kind of once again like whispering with each other. Through some of those whispers, you might pick up like they're trying to decide what would be the best course of action. Then one of them speaks up and says, "I shall inform the commander." And they kind of walk back, towards the back of the room. You see them kind of like salute as they stand, not too close to the commander. You overhear him say something, among the lines of, "There's people here to see you." And in a moment, Gaius seems to kind of finish his game of chess as he drops the king piece from the board, and then he looks back and waves the knight away. The knight comes back and says, "The commander will listen to you, but make it quick."
then as
Okie
well.
dokie. Um,
Goes back to the table he was at. So as you're passing by the rest of the soldiers, they're all kind of like turn their heads, look at you guys walk through, and you see, and you will approach the man who you believe to be Commander Gaius. The man, without really looking at you, as if he's still rearranging the chess pieces to kind of put them away, says, I was informed by my men that you wish to speak to me. Someone has a lot of sound in the background. He kind of turns his eyes and finally looks at you. So, make it quick.
my name is Exandri, and this is Drakgar. We bring you a gift as well upon our visit, and I will set the super expensive bottle of wine down on the table beside his chess set.
Kind of like looks at it, raises an eyebrow. He seems not impressed.
We are here, if I may speak, in 2 days' time. It would be 2 days' time, right? That we're planning on this festival?
Technically, this and the next is the last one.
The what?
The next is the last one.
So tomorrow.
Yeah.
So tomorrow. We were planning on wanting to hold a festival in the name of Sidon. And we were told there might not be anybody better to ask than you and your soldiers yourselves.
Then you were told.
Wait, you cut out after the word told.
He said you were told wrong.
So, you and your comrades wouldn't want to partake in the festival?
Do we look like party organizers or soldiers?
Oh, you wouldn't have to organize anything, but if you would show up as guests, that might be beneficial.
Is there a point to all of this?
Well, tomorrow, I mean, usually these things are planned far in advance, but we're only here for a short time, and we are wanting to do a sacrifice to the god of storms, and we know the city doesn't favor Sidon as much as they should, and we were just wondering if you guys would be guests.
There is one thing you have been missing, however. You have yet to introduce yourselves.
Oh, I totally thought that I opened up with my name is Exandri, but I guess I just did that in my head.
I do not mean what you've been doing so far. Try it as you may. There is little way you can fool me by mere words alone. I know who you are. And I know what you are. Both of you. If you've come
Honestly, inner monologue was like, "Oh, great, good, you can see." No, but I did not say that in character.
If you've come here to dissuade us from the path that we've been ordained, well, I will humor you in whatever it is you propose. At the very least, I'll listen to what you have to say.
Well, there is to be a sacrifice to the god of storms tomorrow upon the Rock of Esther,
Yes.
and we were wanting to make it a festival to him as well in his name.
There is little need for a festival. The demands of the Lord of Storm are clear enough. A sacrifice to be put on the Rock of Estor.
Do you would you guys know what sacrifices would best please Sidon?
Why do you
We
come? Why do you come here to us with this little information? If you've been sent by those who are still in power in this city, then you know what our demands are. Well, rather, the demands of the Lord of Storms. The life of Princess Honora is what we request as a sacrifice. Unless we have something of equal value to that.
of equal value.
Mm.
Um, I do not know if this would be rude of me to ask, so if it is, I apologize for my ignorance. But why exactly does Sidon want Honora, Princess Honora, as the sacrifice?
You're right. You didn't need to ask. It is because she is the daughter of, well, who else but the so-called god of battle.
Mm.
A false god, of course, but one that has been a thorn in the side of my lord for quite some time.
All right. I guess I could see that. Except for, doesn't Pythor have several children?
Right, but I am following the demand of my lord. Uh, or what? Are you suggesting there's another child of Pythor that could be sacrificed to end the rock?
I mean, if push comes to shove. No, just joking. Uh,
Let's see how it is.
well, Cassie in real life is stumped for words. Uh,
I tire
there might be,
I tire
there
of
might be
this.
someone more willing.
Mm.
I do not know for sure, but I just, I don't.
All right, then I'll ask your ally here, since it seems that you are clearly incapable of speaking. He looks over at Drakgar and says, "You,
Yes.
do you possess enough intelligence to come up with something better than your ally here has said?"
Depends on your definition of intelligence. I'm kidding. Um. Shit.
If you're not going to take this seriously, I believe we're done here.
Okay. Okay.
So what you're saying is that in replace of Adora, it must be a sacrifice of equal value.
He kind of
Essentially, of equal value means something that will gravely upset Pythor.
I care little for what goes through the mind and heart of that false god. I care more for what pleases my lord. And then for the first time since you walk into this room, you swear you see him kind of like give like an evil sort of like smile for only but a fraction of a second. And then he says, in an almost jokingly manner, he says, unless of course you wish to offer up the lives of all of the chosens of the Oracle. But of course, you're no chosen ones. You're frauds.
Drakgar is trying to hold his composure.
I mean,
I can tell that we are at an impasse here, and you clearly seem unable to continue speaking.
well, you did help us. You did say if we could find another son or daughter of Pythor to sacrifice, it would be acceptable. You also told us that a festival would not be needed, even though we were going to throw one for him. Will you guys be present at the sacrifice?
Of course. I tire of this needless line of questioning. If there's nothing else you wish to waste my time with, and then he kind of like stands up. And as he stands up, everybody, all of the other soldiers in the room stand up. As if kind of like less out of like, oh, we're gonna jump you, and more of like, you're like, sir, yes, sir, type of like, like at attention. I've grown tired. He kind of steps away from the couch. He says to the soldiers, I shall retire to my room. Make sure that our, hosts are led out the door. And he kind of goes into one of the rooms on the side.
All right. Exandri will pick back up the wine and tuck it back into her bag, and she will turn with she's gonna act like Drakgar is kind of like her soldier, because I don't think he put on anything royal to wear.
Nope.
She will slowly just make her way out.
So, you guys step outside.
Yikes, that was bad.
And you're dealing with the fucking Gaius.
To be fair, completely fair, Rezkev got me off track with something that he sent to me in a DM, and then I couldn't not think about it. And then I forgot all words. He was pretty much like, I volunteer as tribute.
All right. Sadly, it seems negotiations with the Order of Sidon didn't quite went as expected. Though you did manage to pick up on a couple of things that the Commander Gaius said. Whether you're going to take his advice or not is entirely up to you. So, with that done, the other group of people who were, Metius and Porunga. Where were you guys going again?
We were heading over to see Vulcan.
Now I have to add Gaius on the map. There we go. It's right there. Pythor's usually around here. There we go. So you guys are going off to go see Vulcan, the presumably god of the forge. It doesn't take you too long to go to Vulcan's Hall, which is kind of like this sort of amongst the many buildings in the city of Astoria. This one stands out, in case you may have forgotten when I described it last time. Stands out because the walls seem far more reinforced than any other building. There's a very big sort of bronze sign at the top of the door. Well, this kind of like heavy double doors that are made out of bronze, seemingly as well. You walk inside and you are greeted by the strong, hot air of the roaring fires of the forge. Uh, you see Vulcan's intern, the little kid that seems to be kind of like assisting him as his apprentice. Uh, Seems to be kind of currently sitting in like a bench nearby, kind of drinking from what appears to be kind of like this jug of water, as if he's barely like hanging on with the heat of the forge currently roaring. You see Vulcan himself, sort of just acting as if really nothing is bad with the world. He seems to just kind of be currently during a break as well. Uh, Simply just admiring like the latest few creations that came out of the forge as they're cooling down and gonna be placed in like a neat little line. He doesn't really seem to have even noticed you guys walked into the room. So what do you guys do?
I would hail the. I guess I would just hail Vulcan and attempt to get his attention or whoever's attention that I could get, and introduce myself.
Shout over. Oh, I forgot something important. Were you swinging by to pick up Kyra on the way back, on the way to the forge? I believe that was discussed at some point.
Yeah.
Okay. You would find Kyra, well, somewhere on the, somewhat of an early riser. She seemed to have been making laps around the courtyard of the palace. Very nonchalantly, she was doing like a couple of laps around there and didn't really break a sweat. You cannot catch up. Well, not catch up, but manage to call out to her and convince her to come along. She will say, when you kind of pose the idea of coming to Vulcan's Forge, she'll say, okay. Why do you want me to come along with you on this errand?
Well, it was suggested that you might have some persuasive capabilities in this particular scenario,
I don't know who.
seeing as Vulcan is your relative,
Father.
your father, right?
Well, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love Father. But, well, you see, growing up, he never really showed his feelings much to either my brother or myself. Always
Hmm.
busy in his workshop, always had something to do. Never enough time for all of us. Well, he did for Mother, but that's a different story. Still, uh, every year on my birthday, I would, come back home and find me a magical trinket underneath my pillow. He does care. Don't get me wrong. It's just he's never the best at talking to people. Oh, and if he ever forgets your name or gets it completely wrong, don't hold it against him. That's kind of how he is.
Well, all right. I'll keep that in mind. I try not to take anything personally anyway. But hopefully we'll be able to pull from his good side in this case.
I'm not exactly sure what you're going to ask him for, but I suppose I can come along if you really want me to.
We do. We think it's a good idea. And we're just essentially going to ask him for help or information of some kind regarding the viability of replacing the sacrifice if he remembers anything in the past of it happening, relative values and these kinds of things like that.
Hmm. So you're still trying to weigh the idea of the oxen, aren't you?
Yes, and the only other thing, I mean, we'd also have to ask him if he knows any centaur weaknesses of any kind in case it comes to that.
I'm not.
But to be honest with you, I'm quite stumped otherwise.
I'm not sure if he's going to have the answer to that. That's more something you would ask Pythor. You know, he is very proud of his accomplishments and exploits in times of war. But, well, I suppose we could give it a shot.
Right.
Uh,
Well, let's be on our way.
Alright, so you guys head off towards Vulcan's Hall. And like I said, kind of going back to where he was, you kind of feel like, the hot air as you enter. You call it to Vulcan. How do you call it to Vulcan? Yeah, I can't pronounce his name. How do you call it to him?
Um, well, I would just hail him as the smith. Excuse me, kind sir. I require your attention for a moment.
Kind of turns back from the, I guess, the sort of stack of weapons that he was aligning correctly, and he says, "Hey, all right. Uh, well." He kind of turns around. He stops as he looks at over, like just behind you, sees Kyra, and he kind of like looks with this almost like knowing look, kind of like as if he already understood kind of what's going on, and he looks back at you and says, "Right. How can I, what can I do to help you?"
Metius is going to lean in and quietly ask Vulcan, "Does your apprentice know who you are?"
He's a smart kid. I'm certain he figured it out.
Then, immediately upon hearing that, Metius is going to very politely bow and say, "It is an absolute honor to meet you, Vulcan. I myself am a wizard, and many of us revere you in every way possible."
Not another one of these. Yes,
Uh,
your praises are appreciated. I mean, Matthew. Uh, right. Uh,
yeah, yes. Anyway, we have unfortunately come because of the dire circumstances at hand, and we wondered if you had any information on the replacement of sacrifices to Sidon. If anything in your memory has worked in the past.
you questioning my memory, boy.
Certainly not. But I am wondering if you know that a way to guarantee that we don't have to sacrifice Princess Honora.
I'm afraid you come to work up at the wrong tree. I
Hmm.
may have crafted incredible weapons in my time to be able to work some true, uh, shall we say, bloody magic of sorts in the battlefield. And, well, yes, I can tell you how effective they may have been against enemies. And, well, then again, any strong enough weapon can destroy your enemies if you wield it even by a brainless monkey.
Damn.
Hmm.
As far
Okay.
as weaknesses of what you say, the centaurs,
Yes.
as far as weaknesses of the centaurs go, I can't tell you anything that my son won't be able to tell you. It is,
Okay.
well, they are a proud people. Make their own weapons too. They are have a sense of honor, if anything. Uh, Look, I know what's happening out there, even if it may not seem like it, Matthew. Um, I I know what is going to happen in a couple of days. I suppose the best advice I can give you against the centaurs is that, well, if you really are a ballsy one, and whoever else that's coming along is are ballsy enough with you, challenging them for the for some form of a ritualistic combat of sorts. It's well, not going to be easy. In fact, it might just outright be impossible. But well, assuming that the centaurs are siding with the titans because they were promised something in return, uh, perhaps just like that you'll be able to convince them, perhaps to at the very least give you the time of day and hear you out.
Right, to see if we can make them a better offer of some kind. Well,
Maybe perhaps it is. Negotiation is not my area of expertise. That one goes a little bit more to he kind of side eyes, kind of looks over at Kyra. Kyra just kind of doesn't really say anything. She just kind of does like this weird like gesture at Vulcan, and Vulcan then just kind of scratches the back of his head as if he, doesn't quite know what to say or how to follow up that sentence.
mhm.
And then he says, anyway, uh, well, I can't give you much advice in that regard. Want to ask me about anything like crafting a weapon, what best armor to wear? I can answer all of that. Combat, well, don't get me wrong. I saw my fair share of it in my lifetime. Uh, I well have put that behind me.
Well, certainly. We appreciate whatever information you've given us thus far. Porunga, did you have any questions you wish to ask?
Porunga, is Porunga here?
Mm-hmm.
He is currently muted.
Oh. Kyra, did you have any input?
She looks over at Vulcan and says, "It's nice to see you again." Vulcan looks over at Kyra and says,
Yeah, yeah.
"You too. You're still not gonna come out of your forge?"
No, no, not yet. There's still so much work to be done.
Right. Kyra then looks over at you as if there's been like this sort of like awkward, like air kind of building up.
Certainly.
She then looks over you and says, "What did I tell you? Not that best at talking."
Yeah. Well, we do have a minor direction we can go in. I suppose we ask Pythor now what he knows of defeating centaurs. I mean, there was that one legend that he was the center of. I can't quite recall. But uh, if only we could get the information we needed.
Oh, weren't you also
So I suppose that concludes it. All right.
weren't you also going to be asking him about the sacrifice?
Oh, I thought I did about making sure if there's any way that we could make sure that whatever we try to replace the sacrifice of Honora with would actually work. Uh, if that makes sense, Vulcan.
Kind of looks back at you as he seemed to have had his attention put elsewhere. He says, "What? Oh, right. What was your name again?"
Metius.
Matthew. Right.
Sure.
He says, as far as things worth monetary value that could potentially hope to equate the life of Princess Honora,
I suppose. Well, have you tried thinking of sacrificing oxes? Kyra just kind of like chuckles a little bit and says, "Yes, we I kind of already suggested that idea." Oh,
Uh-huh.
of course, as I would expect from you, he says, and then looks back at you, Metius, and says, right. Eh, there are some oxen around the area. You could say they're like the highest quality ones that I overheard can be worth up to like 100 or so gold pieces each of them. If we are to assume that these are all made for that dreadful Sidon, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 50 of them perhaps could possibly work. Uh, well, give or take, how much would that be? He kind of seems to be making like counting in, in his mind. He kind of seems to, you see, as he adjusts the kind of like the monocle that he seems to have, as if that's some form of way to kind of like concentrate.
Mhm.
And eventually you see him, right. 5,000 gold pieces, I suppose. At least that's the amount of gold that would be needed to secure all of these, these oxen. I don't suppose you have any of that.
Not quite that much. But was there a way to guarantee that this sacrifice would be accepted in place of Princess Honora?
I suppose this is one of those things that you're gonna have to run by the Order of Sidon themselves.
Right. Okay. Well, hopefully my companions have secured that information by now.
Ye-
I suppose that's like the actual thing that they forgot to ask, by the way. You will see as Vulcan says, "All right, well, I think I've taken enough of my break. I have to get back to the work. It is never done, after all. If you have any commissions you may think of, though, be sure to run them by me, as long as you have the money to pay for them. The last one of your group that I assisted, well, he didn't quite cover the funds."
Oh, I see. Well, I appreciate everything you've done thus far, and hopefully we can count on you in the future as well. Um,
All right.
that's it, I suppose. Thank you.
Well, back to work. He kind of looks over at the kid and just kind of like says, "And you, boy, break time's over. Go on." Right, sir. He kind of like stands up from the bench, and you see him kind of like run off to one of the side rooms on the forge, while Vulcan himself seems to kind of like, uh, crack his knuckles a little bit, stretch up, grab a hammer, and get ready to, like, pulls up like this box of like scrap metal and begins to all just kind of begin the process of melting it down to make something else. Uh, as you're about to turn away and head off, Kyra just kind of hangs back a little bit and then looks back and says, "It was nice seeing you again." Vulcan for a moment doesn't answer, but then just in a very quiet tone of voice that is almost drowned out by the sound of the forge, says, "Right, you too." And Kyra then walks back, catches back up to you guys as you guys turn away to leave. By the way, we lost Porunga in the Roll20.
I think also Cassandra.
And Cassandra, yes. Aw, man. They went off to play Final Fantasy.
No.
No, actually it said there's an error running Roll20 that's not letting me back on again for a second.
Oh, I just saw you come in and then oh yeah, that
There
sucks.
we go. All right. So, you know, Juno and Derek, they went off in their own little adventure for the time being. An adventure that involves them making a lot of math. As they help the uh, royal accountant to move or prepare at the very least all the resources needed to secure this large amount of oxen because nobody has informed them yet if it's even gonna work or not. So, anybody else doing anything else? After, I'll say, you guys would kind of be done with your errands around the same time. Did you guys agree to meet back up somewhere?
Yeah,
I think we.
lunchtime we're gonna meet back up at the palace. But if
Yeah.
it's not lunchtime, Xandria's probably gotta retire to the library until lunchtime.
Okay. So, oh, you want to say something?
Drakgar was gonna start heading towards the king's palace.
Okay. I mean, you guys are not too far away because you're gonna have to walk a little bit because the guest room is just a slight distance away from the main palace. Other than that, you guys, I'll say for the purpose of convenience that you guys reconvene once again.
Oh,
Kyra, as you guys kind of come back, Kyra breaks off from the rest of you guys and says, I'm gonna go back into the library and see if I can find anything else that could help us. There's something. There's something about that passage that doesn't just quite sit right. I'm going to double check everything we've seen so far. You guys continue doing what you're doing. No pressure. She then goes off into the library.
okay. Well, essentially, we found that Vulcan doesn't really know that much specific details, and that if we're to gain any information on the centaurs and how to defeat them or about their culture or anything, Pythor is actually the one to ask, which makes sense, I suppose, as he is the god of war. As for the guarantee of replacing the sacrifice, I have no clue. I don't think anybody knows if there's a way for it to exactly work. Were you able to glean any information like that from this guy's character?
He was quite intimidating. We really didn't obtain much information from him. I do think we might have failed on the mission on that end. We did, however, find out that a festival is absolutely useless and not needed, and we also found out that Sidon needs a sacrifice of equal value to Honora, and he did suggest that other children of Pythor would be acceptable. But other than that, that's about it. I did, however, get a head count of the soldiers that they have there in case of future events.
Right. Well, knowing that a sacrifice of equal value would work, or should work anyway, is still just as good. If only we could determine the precise value of Princess Honora. Vulcan suggested that the 5,000 gold price of 50 heads of oxen would be enough. But I've again no way of determining if this is 100% a solution or if it's something that we would do in vain.
Well, I guess there's no way of knowing unless we actually try it. But we most definitely should probably come up with a fallback plan.
Well, it said that the sacrifice needed to be made by that day, by tomorrow, right?
Well,
Not
the
not on tomorrow.
the words of the when originally presented with this situation, the words Pythor used were that on the well, no, when the full moon is in the sky, that's where sacrifice needs to happen.
It needs to happen or to have happened by.
That's where that's usually when it happens, when the full moon is.
Okay. All right. So there really isn't a way for us to try a sacrifice and see if it worked. So we're gonna have to get it right on the first time.
Well, I mean, there's still other sacrifices that could be made besides Nora.
Mm-hmm.
They did say that Gaius did state that any child of Pythor could potentially take her place.
But then what would be the point of doing that if we're going to just pick one life for another? What's specific about Princess Honora that you would? I understand that she's your sister. However,
But
it wouldn't be
if there
fair.
was a child, an older sibling, who's lived a fuller life and is closer to the end of their days. I
That's
mean, I don't know anybody off
possible.
the top of my head.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
It does. I don't know.
And I would say we could ask my father, but clearly he can't even remember me when I've been gone for 3 days.
Well, not ideal. Certainly, we will find out which action to take sooner rather than later.
So I guess I will ask. Do you guys have anything planned to do for the day? Because it is around like noon-ish by that time you guys reconvene. Uh, oh, a little bit before noon actually. Because I'd say the process of like going to talk to her side and getting all her shit, like worked out, I guess, didn't took that much, like an hour or 2 hours at most. So it's still kind of relatively early in the day. Uh, so what do you guys want to do?
Uh,
Well, I will head to the library with Kyra if there's nothing else we need to discuss at the moment.
and I'll try to talk to Pythor.
Oh, excellent. We can ask about you could then ask him about the centaurs, their way of life, and maybe if there are any if he knows of any of those citizens around the city that might have some more insight into the machinations of Sidon than just whatever brick wall you came up against in the form of Gaius.
Yeah, let's plan on seeing if they have any like weakness or anything we could use to our advantage.
Wonderful.
Okay. Well, we'll do the library segment first. Metius, you walk into a library once again and see Kyra just completely engrossed in, like, all the very similar reading material to what you did the first day. She seems to be kind of like reading all of it like a couple of times over, even having multiple copies of the same book, kind of like opened up at the same time but in different pages. Uh, she seems to really be losing, her cool, shall we say, when doing all of this. Not even acknowledging you as you walk in. Just kind of like a really quick, hello, still busy.
Uh, I'm going to address her and say you certainly look disturbed, or maybe in a state of you seem a little frantic looking through these things. Is there something else weighing on you other than just, the general doom of this situation?
Well, I don't want my brother's child to die beyond the name of the Titans, for one.
Certainly.
Second, I do not I do not want her to die for another reason. Because if she does, then this will mean that this will be the probably the first and biggest failure that would fall upon the history of our mighty heroes of legend.
Right.
And
Right.
third, well, I want to figure this out because I'm certain that my sister Valis would have already come up with an answer. And it upsets me that I can't.
Is there any way that we could ask her for guidance in the form of some ritual?
Maybe we could pray to her hard enough she'll listen.
Well, I will certainly try um, doing that. Uh, what is it that you're looking at? Does anything stand out to you?
It's just there has to be a inconsistency here. The same way how the Titans are acting against the Oath of Peace by sending proxies to do their bidding. There has to be another way to break the laws established by, well, not break them, but bend the laws established by the stipulations of the sacrifice to Sidon.
Hmm.
Sadly, I'm not as, I suppose I'm not uh, as much of a schemer as Sidon and Lutheria apparently are. My reputation as the most cunning among the gods is quickly falling apart. I must look pathetic.
I don't think you look pathetic at all. This is an incredibly stressful situation to begin with, and it's very clear that Sidon is not playing by what seem to be the rules. It's all very confusing, and like I said, quite stressful. I think that if we continue at this, we'll find something. Um, and Matthias is going to sit down beside her, and before looking over anything, he's going to attempt to offer a prayer to Valis, the goddess of wisdom, um, and say, Valis, please give me the information that I seek. Please give me the inspiration that I need to find what it is that can guide us to the answers we need.
As you're making this prayer, out of the corner of your eye, you see Kyra move a little bit, as if she's putting like a finger to her forehead. You're there entranced in your prayer, wishing for a bit of wisdom, and then you feel Kyra kind of like grab your shoulder, kind of like moves in such a way that you kind of look over at her, and she says, "That thing you said before praying, could you say it again?"
Which thing about
The thing you said about Sidon.
well, I guess I suppose I said I'm Matthew is literally not remembering what thing did I say that stuck out to you
That
about Sidon, about how he's not following the rules?
that she kind of turns to look back at the text. Says, rules. What are rules if not guidelines to some process? Things that you have to abide by and you have to abide by word for word for something to work, right? She
Well, yes.
she looks back and just kind of flips through pages, and you see with her finger she kind of begins to trace along the text on the parchments, and she lands once again on the entry that stood out to you.
Right.
The sacrifice is to be tied to the rock of Esther, to be petrified and eaten by basilisks. Only then will the Lord of Storms bring rain. She points at it and says, "Right here. This is the one that has been in my mind for a while, and now I know why. The sacrifice is to be tied to the rock of Esther, to be petrified and eaten by basilisks. Only then will the Lord of Storms bring rain. This part right here, to be tied to the rock of Esther, to be petrified and eaten. It doesn't say they have to.
Ooh.
Okay. I don't see what you're getting at. It doesn't say they have to. It just says they are to be.
Correct.
So they don't actually have to be eaten.
Correct. As long as they remain in the rock until sunrise after the full moon, we would have completed the warding of the sacrifice.
So we could, in theory, tie Honora to the rock and defeat any basilisks that show up.
No, the ritual cannot be interrupted by outside interference. But
Hmm.
if you guys are put on the rock and fight back against the basilisks,
Ah, we could. Well, I think that is an excellent idea and may please some of our party members. I will. We should go relay this information immediately.
she kind of like grabs you by the shoulders, says, thank you so much. I could kiss you. I'm not going to.
I did literally nothing, but thank you.
No, what you said, the whole thing about playing by the rules. Uh, that's what made me realize. Thank you.
Of
Thank you so
course, and I think Metius is probably going to look a little bit flustered because he's not super used to being very close to pretty much anybody.
She kind of realizes that she's like holding you a little bit too close to her. She kind of lets go and says, "Sorry about that. I got a bit carried away."
Not to worry, but we do need to go and relay this information immediately.
Right.
And
She kind of like grabs all of the parchments and with blinding speed once again, demonstrating her swiftness as the most cunning of the five gods. Kind of like goes all around the table collecting the piece of evidence. Kind of like grabs you by the arm, says, "No time to waste. Hold on." And she, without waiting for a response, just dashes out of the room with some fucking like flash level speed force
oh my god,
going on, because out of character, a little bit of insider info, she has a 55 movement speed.
oh wow,
Yeah.
So she just darts out of the room. The rest of you guys hear the of her footsteps like going all over the palace, at breakneck speed, trying to find all of you guys. Uh, she kind of eventually, like, you guys hadn't even like fully like parted ways at this point. You guys were still kind of like all over the, like, about to kind of head off to your respective segments of of the palace that you guys were going to off to. Uh, she just kind of like screeches to a halt, leaving a discernible mark on the flooring of the palace. As she is dragging like Metius behind her, and just kind of like you kind of come to like a dead stop, but that you think like damn near like your arm was gonna be pulled out of your socket. Uh, and Kyra is like looks around at the rest of you guys and says, "Guys, guys, guys, we figured it out." She looks at you guys.
Figured what out?
The rules of the sacrifice. Uh, much. like Siren and Tyrion don't play by the rules of the peace. We don't have to play by the rules of the sacrifice. Metius here, he figured it out. He kind of like pulls out fumbles over the parchments that she had on the other hand, dropping a couple of them on the floor until she gets the one she needs. She says, right here, in the in this stipulation, it says that the sacrifice is to yada yada be put tied to the rock of Esther, to be petrified, all of that. It doesn't say that the sacrifice has to be petrified and has to be eaten by the basilisks.
So the plan essentially that we've come up with is we take all of us, the chosen of the Oracle, take the place of Princess Honora, tie ourselves to the Rock of Estor, and made to be sacrificed, but instead we will fight back against whatever basilisks come for us. And as long as we can make it till, what is it, the morning or something, then until we if we can make it until sunrise, then we will have held up our end of the bargain and should satisfy the specifics, and hopefully that will let us save the city and bring rain once again to the lands.
Well,
and your sister.
this does sound very promising. I'm willing to do it, but I do have some questions. One being, how confined do we have to be while tied to the rock? And two, how does one fight a basilisk?
Oh, right. There's that. Oh, I forgot about that part. She kind of deflates a little bit. And she says, all right. I suppose as long as you're tied once to the rock and then you somehow undo your bindings but still remain within the rock, that could work. Because you technically were tied, you're just not at some point.
I mean, are we allowed to go see this rock before? Like, can we go there now? Like,
yes, we can. There's still time
test
within the
it
day.
out? Can we, like, just tie one hand to the rock?
Well, it doesn't say that we need to be restrained. It just says we need to be tied to the rock. I assume that a rope around the waist and then attach that rope to whatever's at that rock should it fulfills
I agree. I
the
think
words.
that's very smart.
Well, let's not forget, we are dealing with the Order of Sidon here, who I'm certain they will oversee the proceedings. If they, and they will probably use more than just a little bit of rope.
Oh, right.
But we have something going on here. Sure. You guys go. Investigate the rock. Scout out the area. Make sure it's you can come up with something. I'm gonna go take this news to my brother. She can like picks up all the parchments on the floor and says, and may the speed of the five be with you all. And she darts out of the place.
Well,
You know, one of these days, Auntie Kyra is going to run into a wall and deal some serious damage to herself. Well, great job on finding that information, Matthias. Thank you for wanting to help save my sister.
It was mostly by accident, but
Play it off like it was.
it's I'm sure that that Kyra will embellish the way that this information was found in her little story at the end of this. The main thing is I want to know if we all agree. This was sort of just dumped into onto us, and hopefully we all want this to happen.
Well, I do think my sister has some really promising views the growth of Asteria, so I feel like she can help make the place better, if that makes sense. But at the same time, I understand that we'll be putting a lot of our lives possibly on the line, and I do know that she is my sister, so I'm not quite sure where everybody else's paths or thoughts would align. Hold on, I gotta calm down this music bot that's really loud out of the blue. Okay, and like that music just got like 10 times louder. Um, so I understand if you guys don't want to do it. Do we all have to be on the rock? Or do some of us have to be there? Can we help from being off the rock?
Well, it needs to be of equal sacrifice, of equal value to Princess Honora. Were you given any insight onto how many, non-princess god, demigod lives are going to be worth? Uh, did you mention, this is out of character? Did you mention before that Gaius made the comment about us being, were like an equal sacrifice? Essentially, if all of us were to do it.
I did say that any child of Pythor would be of equal sacrifice.
Okay.
Didn't specifically mention the comment that Gaius made.
Okay. Well, then, in that case, Metius would just say that you said earlier that any child of Pythor would do, and we have two with us. So as long as we're all there, I'm sure it's fine. But the real
Do you guys have to
challenge,
be on the rock with us though? Can you be off the rock?
I have no clue.
Because
For
if
safe
only one of us
measure,
have to be tied on the rock,
I
I would
we're
do
all
it.
going to have to be there anyway. We might as well make a show of it. But the main thing is going to be, what's a basilisk? How do we fight it? I think that asking Pythor and Vulcan for battle guidance in this way will be something that we certainly need to do before the moon tomorrow.
For sure. And then if we all don't have to be on the rock, if one of us needs to be tied down, I mean, you guys could tie me down because obviously Drakgar is a lot stronger in battle than I am.
Right. If these creatures are meant to come from the water, then we would want to be as close to them as possible as to keep them at the rock and not come to the city or risk any collateral damage or something, I think. But we will need, in case all of us do in fact need to be tied to this rock for sacrifice, we should come up with a plan on how we're going to get everyone out. Drakgar, you're saying that you are strong enough to break free? This is probably true. Do we know what they...
I mean, we could go to the rock and try it out.
Certainly. Okay, let's head over there.
Anybody got rope?
Well, if we're lucky, they'll use rope. If we are unlucky, they will attempt to chain us with iron bindings of some kind.
Well, sounds like we better go steal all of their chains while we're at it too.
Every chain in the city.
Every chain in the city just goes missing overnight.
Okay, so you guys are going over to the Rock of Estor to try and see kind of how the place generally looks like, so you may plan your, well, approach of sorts accordingly. It doesn't take you too long to get there. It is just, well, some of you may not know. Generally, just asking around, hey, where's the Rock of Estor, will net you with a general idea of where it might be. It is a rock, obviously, a very big one that protrudes from the water. That is just outside off to the side of the southern exit of the city. Around here. Let's zoom and enhance on that one. Enhance.
Yes.
So this is generally how the area looks like. You guys will be coming in from, I guess, like around here. From around here. There doesn't appear to be anybody here at this time of the day. It appears to be kind of like this very simple shore that kind of runs, alongside the main river that kind of crosses the city of Astoria, or at least the western side of the city of Astoria. It is, from what you can tell, a just kind of like a shallow formation of rocks that are peaking just a little bit above the river. Uh, Not as impressive as you would imagine with a name such as the Rock of Estor. Uh, it is just kind of like a flat surface, uh, kind of made in such a way that it kind of seems to resemble an altarpiece, perhaps. Uh, there's this iron pole that kind of sticks from directly in the middle of the center of the rock. Uh, there's a bunch of the strange looking like white stones that are kind of scattered around the base of the pole. Uh, it is all in all, not too like grandiose looking.
Wonder
Wha-
if Porunga might be able to freeze the water around it,
Yes.
because he does have some ice abilities, if I remember correctly.
Just from technically speaking, I think that would take far too long.
True. But would be cool.
All we know for sure is that we need to tie ourselves. We need to be tied to this rock, and I think stay on it. I think that to make sure that we don't, because we're really trying to exploit loopholes here, and we don't want to take any chances. I think it's probably better if we are all. There's certainly room on it for all of us. We probably want to just all be on it and make sure that no technicalities can go in any direction that isn't our favor.
So here are some questions that I have, just speaking out loud for the group. One, when we spoke to Gaius, he definitely thinks that all of us are fakes. So
Okay.
we might have to convince him that we are not fake prophets. But if we couldn't convince him that we are all actual prophets of Verces, we could convince him that Drakgar and I are actually Pythor's sons. But then that would come back around to the, are you guys allowed to assist us without actually being on the rock?
Well, he said, well, assist us. I don't think we want to let Gaius know anything other than we're willing to replace your sister as sacrifice. I can't
That's what
imagine
I
he
mean,
needs.
though. He thinks that we are fakes. So I don't think that he will think that us would be a befitting replacement.
Well, I mean, we'll just have to ask. He lives inside of the guest chambers. I mean, we'll be near him anyway. If you wish, I could ask for you.
I mean, you could try. He's pretty intimidating.
I see. Well, just as for my understanding of the way we're trying to exploit the wording of this particular excerpt, all of us are to be tied to this rock in some way, remain on it until sunrise. And even if no deaths occur, hopefully no deaths occur, we will have fulfilled the specific wording of this information, this excerpt or whatever it is that we were able to come across. And that should force Sidon to bring back the reins and call off whatever hordes of centaurs he has in reserve. But we want to be able to follow this exactly in the way that we're trying to exploit this loophole, or else, this will be for naught. And we definitely don't want Gaius to know that we're attempting to exploit it.
Very true. Well, shall we? How cold is the water?
At this time of the day, sort of like, mid temperature. It's not too hot, it's not too cold.
So, would we theoretically be able to swim out there and check out the rock?
Well, so one thing you will notice is that there is no real necessity to swim. This kind of pathway that you see that runs along this, the map doesn't quite represent it, but it is shallow enough that it allows for basically to walk over to the rock.
Wonderful.
So you guys want to walk over there?
Yeah, I want to go check out the rock
So,
to see what the rock what it would feel like with all of us on top of it.
well,
Please.
there's certainly enough space for the entire party to be there. As of what you can see, there appears to be a couple of chains around that go kind of like from the top of the of the pole in the middle.
Metal chains?
Yes. I mean, unless you have somehow seen wooden chains in your life.
I actually have. But Metius is going to rattle the chains and say, "This is exactly what I was afraid of."
I should be able to break free. Should we have me on the thing
What
instead?
type of chains are they? Are they like chains that like
Right,
engulf
right.
the entire hand, or are they chains that just like click around the wrist like
Well,
police?
you don't see shackles per se. But actually, hold on, let me double check something. No, yes, you do see shackles, like around some of those chains. They are very simple in their make. Kind of are meant to kind of like go around like like the wrists and have like the very simple sort of like a lock in them.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly with the intention that you're not kind of like pulling the chains back to the maximum possible length. Only really allow you to go like 10 feet or so, a little bit less than 10 feet, like away from the pole.
Right.
And how tall up is the pole?
The pole is appears to be around 10 or so feet tall itself. Maybe less than that.
Is it like a super thick pole? Is there a super skinny pole?
Kind of thick. Would definitely be very difficult to like pry it off, if that's what you were thinking.
Okay. Can I look at the top of the pole? How are the chains attached to the pole?
They seem to be attached to this kind of, shall we say, just like a simple, well, not simple, but kind of thick looking link of sorts in the middle, in the top of the pole, where the chains seem to be kind of like have been sort of welded in such a way to kind of like be fully like inside this small sort of like arch, link of sorts.
Okay.
I wonder if I could break it with my axe, maybe. If like you are like chained to it, maybe I could try to like break
Or
off
if
or
maybe there's a way we could weaken the ring right now or before the sacrifice is set up, so that because the way that this looks, I'll easily be able to cast a spell. It doesn't look like they're going to keep my hands bound to in some way that will prevent me from casting any spells. So if we can weaken the link, in my own research, I found an ability. I found a way to enlarge the size of a creature. So maybe by weakening a link and then at the right time enlarging you, Drakgar, we could have you be large enough and strong enough to break the rest of the link off, and then thus freeing us to some degree. Unless we definitely need to remain chained to this rock, because in that case, we don't want to break anything. So they look long enough that we would not really be hindered movement-wise if we really needed to walk around this large rock beneath us. I don't know if you can fight with some shackles on, but I can't imagine that it would be a great deterrence.
It'd be a challenge, but I think I can manage.
I suppose we'll have to see on that night.
I mean, I think I would also be able to cast my spells still, so it wouldn't be that too dangerous for me. And if I really will it, I would be able to have my flying tomorrow. I could just perch on top of the pole, so that way you guys wouldn't have to, so to speak, worry about my chains.
The other concern would be, how do we make sure our equipment is with us? I can't imagine that they're going to walk us to this pole with a giant battle axe and other things.
You
We could
mean this?
we could
Yeah,
hide them right now, couldn't we?
hide the axe somewhere here, possibly. However, I don't know where.
We could hide it. We could hide it on the behind side, over here somewhere.
We could, or we could just attempt to convince the members of the Order of Sidon that us being sacrificed with all of our heroic equipment upon us is better. I don't know.
I mean, I mean, I feel like they would think something was up if we did it that way, but we could always try that too. I mean, the worst they're gonna do is tell us no and make us strip all of our stuff off, anyways.
Right, and then we'll have to find a way to get it to ourselves. Well,
We could take Dragonar's other axes, his smaller axes, and hide them around the cliff.
Oh yeah, true.
oh, that's a great idea.
Porunga, you, myself, and Derek cast spells, and
Juno
Juno
punches
uses his
things.
fist. So we would only have to hide Dragonar's axe.
Right. Okay.
Granted, we're also going to be weaker because I highly doubt they're going to allow us to climb up here in our battle armor as well.
Well, I wear no armor, so I'm quite all
Me
right.
neither. High five.
What's armor, Flex?
I don't think any of us really wear armor.
Oh, okay, just kidding. The only people who wear armor is Derek. Wow, wait, our whole party doesn't wear armor?
My guy is freaking shirtless. I can't wear armor if I wanted to.
Oh, that's so crazy.
Okay, well,
I mean, I wear light armor, but like that's really still considered like no fucking armor.
well, either way, um,
Wow, I can't believe I've never seen a party of people who don't wear armor.
That is so funny.
So I think that we're all in agreement, though, that all of us need to be on this rock. All of us need to be chained to it, at least at the beginning. And we are going to have to fight for our lives until the morning comes, unless there's an amount of basilisks, like a limited amount of them. However, I'm not sure. Our next order of business certainly is to go ask Pythor and Vulcan about basilisk fighting. And if there are any tools they can provide us with, that would be a boon to us, I
Well,
think.
while we're here, I really do think we should just hide Drakenar's smaller axes.
You have them
Okay.
on you, Drakgar?
My hand, I can, yeah, I'll give up
His
my
hand
hand
axes?
axes.
I'm going to cast Mold Earth on the ground that's shallow,
I forgot how
and
beautiful you were with that power.
I'm just to remove like maybe
Where exactly?
you know
Where exactly are you casting Mulder?
just where out. How do I like
Along
probably
the
just to the
slope.
left of Exandria?
My.
Um,
Well, here's the thing. The river, or at least the segment where you guys are, is around 2 or 3 feet deep.
yeah.
Like what's it called? Is just so I can get this right. Is your plan to cast Moldert on the floor, on the ground floor of the river, so you can bury weapons there and reach out and like grab them if possible?
Yeah,
I'll also grab my spear. Should we hide these as well?
we should hide as many things as we can, although there's no guarantee we're going to be able to reach them while chained up, but hopefully we can figure something out.
I will hand him my healing potion to mold into the earth.
Hold on a second. Before we start burying all of our equipment immediately, we may not be able to even reach the riverbed. So I don't think we should bury everything, and we're just going to bury the spares for now. We'll find out from Gaius if he will, first of all, even accept us as a replacement, and then if he's going to require us to strip our equipment, and then if we are required to remove our equipment before sacrifice, then we'll come back here and see if we can hide it amongst the shallows.
I mean,
Unless somebody else has a better idea. I don't know.
we could do that too, but just in case, we could still hide at least the hand axes and a health potion until then.
Okay.
I mean, and then if worst comes to shove and we don't even get to touch this island again, all we lose are two hand axes, and one health potion.
Okay. So I will then cast Mold Earth, and I just want to take like if it works, I want to take like a foot off the top where we can place the hand axes and then fill it back in.
Could you ping me where exactly you're putting the hand axes?
I can't seem to ping. I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
You can get there's a draw button. Oh yeah, right there.
But yeah, right there, pretty much, like just to the left of Exandria. Yeah, it would be in that area. I don't know how big the hand axes are.
They're pretty small.
I'm gonna put them both
But
in the same.
it would be there. So that hopefully the intention is that when we do start combat, I will be able to uncover them for you, Drakgar, and you'll be able to grab them quickly and then be armed for whatever horrendous creatures come after us.
And
Sounds like a plan.
where would you hide the health potion?
Does anybody have an idea as to where this health potion should be? Because I feel like putting two things beside each other is a terrible idea.
I feel like it should be closer to the pole, and then we could put a rock on top of it.
Okay.
Like one of these straggling rocks on top of the little.
Well, I'm afraid my magic has no power there, but
Well, we could just grab a rock.
all right, we'll do our best to hide the health potion in the way that Exandria is describing.
In that case, roll me 2 checks. One a
Hold on, I'm gonna see if I have anything to put it in first before we try to randomly.
well,
Mm,
like I said, there's like this loose sort of like white stone like around the platform. Like chunks of no discernible like I guess consistency. Uh, roll me 2 checks, whoever's doing this.
The white stone is loose?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just like on top of the platform. Like there's no, it's not
Mm-hmm.
connected to anything. It's just kind of like chunks that are kind of thrown around. Uh, I want somebody, whoever's doing this, to make me 2 checks. A nature check and a stealth check.
Wait, a nature check and a skill check for
I'm
what?
going to, as
To hide
he's
the health
doing this,
potion.
I'm going to cast guidance on him, and I'm like holding onto my little symbol as he shimmers for a split second.
Am I doing this then?
Yeah.
Whoever.
Okay. My nature check. That's great. And my stealth check. Oh, I guess it's
Well,
just
with
an
the nat
automatic
one, so I don't
fail,
even
right?
think rolling on it
I mean,
helps.
nat ones and nat 20s for ability check don't count as automatic fails or automatic successes. That's a misconception about D&D. I mean, like chances are, if you roll a natural one on the ability check, you probably failed. But
Mm-hmm.
they're not automatic fails. Uh,
Oh, then you can roll your d4 to your nature check if you want.
How do I? What is it? RD4?
Yeah.
or just use the dice roller on the left side of the screen. There we go. So
Damn.
Yay!
the stone.
I'm so excited! Yay!
So the stone you're moving around, Metius, looks weird. You kind of find it weird that it's like, why is just like random stone like here? You don't think much of it, however. You can't, like, you're not an archaeologist. You're not stone work is not your expertise. So
Certainly not.
However, you accommodate, you can like move around like the piece of the loose white stone, like around the place, and eventually, you believe that you may have hidden this health potion good enough at the base of the pole, in such a way that probably people are not going to see it.
Well, I think that does it then. I'm certain nobody's going to see this. Well, probably anyway. Is there anything else we wanted to do here?
I'll take that as a no. Uh,
I will also take it as a no.
So, you guys will get out of here after you're done doing your subterfuge. Not only are you now armed with the knowledge that you can essentially cheat the system of the sacrifice, but you've also taken preemptive steps to perhaps ensure the survival of however many of you are going to be standing at the rock. Uh, with that in mind, you guys get out of there and go back to the city of Astoria proper. Uh, you guys will essentially have the rest of the day to think of what to do, and then some. You have the rest of this day and around 70% of the next one to think of what to do or do anything if you are doing anything at all.
Should we talk to Pythor?
Someone needs to go talk to Pythor about fighting basilisks, and somebody needs to go talk to Gaius, just letting him know that we're going to be replacing Princess Honora on the Rock of Estor with the chosen ones from the Oracle's chosen ones.
I'll probably go to Pythor, I guess.
All right. So, uh, just so I got this right, Drakgar is going to Pythor and everybody else is going to Gaius, or?
I'm certainly going to go to Gaius. Porunga, do you want to come with me?
Or do you want to come with me?
I'm gonna go with Drakgar to Pythor, or because I had such a bad experience trying
With
to
Gaius?
persuade Gaius the first time, I feel like I would just hinder the accomplishment.
Hey, you know what?
Yeah, that was.
He is the commander of the Order of Siren for a reason. He is supposed to be a very intimidating man. So let's do the meeting with Gaius. Porunga and Porunga and Metius. You guys head over to the guests' rooms in order to talk to the Order of Siren. You see, at this time of the day, a lot of them are not exactly all inside the room. Rather, a couple of them find themselves more sort of like walking around the area. Some of them are nearby the stables. Others are just kind of, taking like I guess, a break of sorts. Uh, they do kind of see you in the distance as you move, towards the general area. Uh, yeah, it's completely shut down if you want to. I forgot to delete Exandrian. There we go. They do kind of like see you approach, and you see one of the soldiers kind of like elbow the other one, as if kind of like saying to him, hey, "Get a load of that one," type of thing. As you
Yeah.
approach,
Uh,
uh,
I would raise my hand in greeting. Hail, I come to seek an audience with Commander Gaius about the sacrifice meant to happen tomorrow.
another one. How many of you are going to show up today?
Hopefully we'll be the last.
Right. Well, Commander Gaius is in a bit of a sour mood after last time. I wouldn't recommend talking to him, but if you insist, please don't
Mm,
try to aggravate him any further.
well, we could come back tomorrow. However, this is about, the sacrifice. So I'm sure he would want it to be over and done with before he retires for the night.
Hmm. I suppose you can come in. Just give us a second.
As you wish.
Kind of walks inside the area. He goes away for like a couple of minutes. Uh, you hear some noise inside. You're not quite sure what that was about. And when the guy comes back out, uh, he comes back out, and there's this kind of noticeable bent in his armor, around the arm area of his armor that almost looks like a handprint.
Oh,
The soldier comes back out and says, "Yeah, he was in a sour mood. You, you better make this worth it, trash." Go.
okay. Uh, shall we head inside, Porunga? Or should we wait for tomorrow morning? Maybe he won't be in such a foul mood. Well, maybe we'll just try to get it over with then. And I guess we'll head inside.
All right. So let's head inside, and you notice that, every now all of the soldiers are keeping their fair distance away from Commander Gaius, or at least the man you believe to be Gaius, because you guys haven't actually, you, Metius and Porunga, haven't actually seen him. But
Mhm.
he's around here. Uh, Unlike last time, he was seen to be playing chess against himself. Right now, he appears to be trying to calm down. He's reading a book. He's drinking some tea. He seems to be putting some stuff on the side that looks like random trinkets that he seems to be kind of counting up. You guys
Oh,
approach?
okay, well, first, I would like to just go over to these two soldiers and say to them, we're here to see Commander Gaius.
Yeah,
Uh,
yes, we saw what happened.
right. Is there any particular way we're meant to address him? If you would be so kind as to let me know.
Maybe as, I don't know, maybe as Commander Gaius.
Certainly. Okay. Do you bow or salute in some way?
Did you serve?
I didn't.
They kind of look at each other and they're like, then I suppose bow will do for you.
I appreciate the information. And I will motion to Porunga for us to approach Commander Gaius.
All right, you do so. And like I said, you kind of see him like with the teacup, reading a book, has like on the side like a couple of weird like trinkets on the table that you can't quite recognize what they're supposed to be.
Okay.
He kind of, without looking at you guys, says, another group of yours? I thought I made my point quite clear to the other ones.
Metius is going to bow deeply and say, Hail, Commander Gaius. We are here to simply offer you, we're here to deliver a message. We know you know who we are, certainly. We are the chosen of the Oracle, and we have come to offer our lives as sacrifice in replace of Princess Honora.
There's like this pause in his movements, and there's a pause on the movements of the soldiers who just kind of like turn around, like that SpongeBob meme of the fish guy kind of like turn around on the table, uh, to look at something. And the guy just kind of like stops drinking his tea, stops reading his book, uh, and just kind of places the teacup down on the table, puts like a bookmarker on the book, closes it, kind of places it on the table, and looks without quite looking over at you. He just kind of seems to have this look on his face of like almost as if he's really thinking of what you just said. And he says,
Really? Is that how things are now? You mean
Yes?
just you two? Or
Mm,
is the...
all of us.
I see. So finally, the fakers admit their flaws against the Order of Siren and have come to do proper payment for their crimes. Right,
Well,
right then. What is your aim here? He kind of stands up
well,
from his chair and walks up a little.
to be honest, our aim is to spare the life of Princess Honora and to bring the rains back to this land that is suffering such a horrible drought. Unfortunately, we've come to the conclusion that gathering so many heads of cattle will just impoverish this nation, this little city, and they really need the water. So, what can we do other than offer our lives in place? Clearly, Princess Honora has more business here than just being sacrificed on some stone. So, this is the conclusion that we've come to.
roll me either a performance or a persuasion check.
Performance or persuasion?
Uh,
They're both.
Don't forget you have DM inspiration.
I
If needed.
mean, if you want to use it on this check, you know.
Uh,
this is
okay,
This
I
basically
guess I'll do.
this is basically asking your approach. Are you trying to sell this as a grandiose thing? That would be performance, or are you trying to make like a good argument? That would be persuasion.
I think Matthias would be trying to make a good argument, but I both have a -1 in both of them, so
Yeah.
that's cool.
You can, Commander Gaius raises an eyebrow. And he says, You know, I wasn't born yesterday. I can tell when someone tries to sell me something that is too good to be true. But man, will I be an idiot if I was to refuse this proposition. Sure. Your lives in exchange as a princess. That is an acceptable offer. I believe the Lord of Storms will be quite pleased to see you, fake chosen ones, fall. Nothing personal, of course.
Of course.
It's been a while since I've been this amused by someone. I expect to see the lot of you tomorrow at the Rock of Estor before the moon shines above.
You can certainly count on it, and I'm glad that we could have made your day.
He kind of does like a weird sort of expression in his face, as almost as if he's trying to contain, like a smile. And he says, "No, there's one should not take pleasure in fulfilling one's duties. But I must admit, this does put a smile on my face." And he says, "Now off with you."
Thank you for your time, Commander Gaius. And I'm going to pull on Porunga's cloak and motion that we need to leave fast. And I will quickly get out.
Alright, so you guys leave. As you guys are walking out, you see like the other soldiers kind of look past you, or look at you as you pass by. The ones at the entrance, the one that's kind of like still clutching his arm, has the handprint almost as if it bent the metal on it. Kind of like looks over, and kind of looks you guys up and down and says, "Right. I take it the commander shooed you away."
He did after a mutual agreement.
What?
What? We are going to be replacing Princess Honora as the sacrifice. What is that? And Metius is going to point to the handprint and say, "Did Gaius do that to you?"
Due punishment for my lack of, well, training, shall we say.
He left a handprint in metal.
Kinda looks over at you as if he doesn't need to answer that question.
Is Gaius not a human?
No, of course he is. But what type of strength would you expect from somebody who follows the Lord of Storms?
I see.
One day, we all hope to achieve such strength.
Okay. Well, I wish you the best of luck, but we really must be going.
Right. So you guys leave.
Yeah, 100%. I'm out.
No, don't want to remain anywhere within a mile's radius of Commander Gaius.
I didn't even want to push my luck asking him about like keeping equipment, because anything that would have set him off, I'm like, absolutely not. That's not happening anymore.
So you guys leave, and from what you can gather, they seem to have been a successful exchange with Commander Gaius. Seems like he accepted the exchange of your lives, in quotations, uh, for Princess Sonoris. I feel like for Unicorns would have been a fight for sure. He also, like, keep in mind, he also kind of has to abide by hospitality, guest friendship.
Certainly.
So he probably wouldn't have thrown hands at you specifically,
No.
he certainly would have been a little bit angry. Uh, so, uh, you guys, will uh, go back to the rest of the party. With this newfound knowledge that your lives are indeed might be accepted, or will be accepted rather, as a suitable replacement for Sidon, the Lord of Storms. And seeing as Anora's life may not need to be sacrificed at all, and nor the city of Astoria may need to lose a lot of its cattle, uh, that is where we're going to end the session because we are at end time. Uh, we'll get to the rest of the party next session. Once again, sorry that it was all like just like a roleplay session. I'm trying to keep a flow of things, but well, you know, uh, I also try to play the characters as best as I can. Uh, really sorry about that.
Oh, it's fine.
Oh no, I made you fall asleep.
Oh
No.
my god.
But yeah, yeah. Sorry again that it was this roleplay heavy session. But next session, you guys are definitely gonna get to the well, to the quote unquote sacrifice and see how you fare off against basilisks.
We didn't even talk to Pythor yet. Uh-oh.
Now, like I said, we'll get to that in next session. I'll try to
Oh,
go
okay.
through all of that as fast as I can, because
Well,
I want to keep a good pace on the sessions, and we can't just be like 3 roleplays
doing a
in a row.
yeah.
Uh, you're really sorry about this, y'all, but I'm trying to keep things moving as best I can.
No worries. Still fun.
Really, a good idea. Going to the library right away certainly saved you a lot of time to come up with the idea. Uh, I'm not gonna lie, y'all. For like a good portion of the session, I was like, man, you guys are overthinking things a lot. Uh,
I definitely was.
but I'm glad you guys managed to find the hidden third solution to the problem. Uh,
Like mostly Kyra is doing.
well, technically, it was a combination between you and Kyra. See, my plan for this segment was that I was gonna have Kyra be in the library for a while, and only until like the last bit of the third day, if you guys hadn't figured out already, she would have showed up and and said,
Is the recording over, by the way?
not yet actually. Hold on,
Oh.
I'm gonna need to do it. Give me a second. Yeah, I totally forgot I was still recording. Sorry, y'all. Okay. Anyway, for those of you who are watching this, in YouTube, please continue watching our videos. Even if we don't get that many each video. It feels cool to have people interested in the adventures of this party through the Odyssey of the Dragonlords. Uh, Besides that, I hope that next session we'll have all players present for it, so we can see how the plan plays out. With that, I will be ending the recording, and we'll be coming back next week, hopefully.